What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bullish Rippers. This is Evan, better known as Stock Market News on Twitter. Every Monday at 9:20 a.m. Eastern and Friday at 4 p.m., myself and my co-host, Wolf_Financial, also known as Gav, put on these spaces to help you guys get ready for the week ahead in the market and then get caught up on the week just past. Our goal is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you guys a little bit. We really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you enjoy.
You said that somebody's running the Wolf account?
Yeah, so what's it called? Right now, I have very terrible service in Miami, as you know, and all of my spaces that I've been
You're
hosting have
still over there?
yeah, I'm here all month, and then I'm coming to you guys.
Oh man, you're living the life.
Yeah, it's good weather. But and Nick, you can also make stock market news co-host. So what's happening is I can't host from where I am because my network is not stable. It has really bad latency, and so it crashes about 30 minutes in or something. So what's happening is Nick is one of our interns on the Wolf team, and she's been helping me with like content and different stuff. And so he is being a huge help right now, and is basically hosting on the Wolf account from his area, so that he has a stable network, and then I can come in and moderate. And Nick, you can say hi to everybody.
What's up, Nick?
Hi, what's up?
Yeah, so and if Nick, if you want to come in at all while we're talking about stocks, feel free to participate at any point. There's a little, again, that little raise hand feature is if you click on the heart emote towards the bottom of your screen, it's all the way on the right. But that is kind of what's happening for now. We also have, I think, a majority of our speakers. So I don't want to take up too much time, but there was just that one quick hitch getting started. I'm going to go ahead and tweet out this space. But while I'm doing that, stock market news. Do you want to get us started with news?
Yeah, here we go. So I was originally going to say when I woke up that we didn't have that much news, but we started to fill in a little bit, started to feel like we started to get more news. The first one came, I believe, actually this might have been Friday after the close. I don't know exactly when this happened, over the weekend, whatever, but I didn't see too many people talking about it until this morning. But the NASDAQ 100 is doing its annual rebalancing after the markets close on December 17th, and there's 6 new stocks being added, 6 popular ones actually. So for anyone who hasn't seen this, Airbnb, ticker ABNB, Lucid, ticker LCID, Zscaler, ticker ZS, Fortinet, ticker FTNT, Datadog, ticker DDOG, and then Palo Alto, ticker PANW, are all going to be added to the NASDAQ 100 after the markets close on December 17th, which is this Friday. The first time they're going to be trading with those stocks in the index is going to be Monday. That would make it the 20th, I believe, yes. So the first time that's going to happen, and then 6 stocks in, which means 6 stocks are coming out. So what's leaving the index? CDW, Fox, Cerner, Checkpoint, Trip.com, and then Insight are all leaving the index. So those 6 stocks are being removed. Moving on from that, we have Apple, which is actually very, very close to hitting the $3 trillion market cap. It's actually pulled back a little bit. It was right around 182. It will pass that milestone right around 182.80. Moving on from that, we had a couple analyst upgrades. There was a bunch of them. I'm just going to highlight the mega cap stocks that were really in the upgrades or downgrades, I guess. But Cowen raised its price target on Amazon to 4,500. KeyBank lowered its price target on Disney by about like $10, but still maintained its overweight rating. Their price target's right around 215, 217, around there. I'm looking at this. JP Morgan also raised its price target on Apple to 210 from 180, and that's a Wall Street high now as well. So that's the new high price target for Apple. Moving on from price targets, a couple other stocks that were in the news this morning. Rivian. So you obviously don't have to deliver cars to get this award, I guess, but Rivian was named the 2022 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. That came out this morning. Another award that was awarded this morning was actually to Elon Musk, who was awarded the Time Magazine Person of the Year for 2021. So that came out this morning as well. And then another news story. Actually, we got some dividend news this morning. Cisco declared a dividend of 37 cents, which is unchanged from their previous dividend. And then Bristol Myers, which is ticker BMY, raised its dividend by 5 cents to 54 cents per each quarter, their quarterly dividend. And then they also authorized a new $15 billion share repurchase program. The last major story I got for you guys today is going to be for Intel, which said it plans to spend around $7 billion to expand its manufacturing capabilities, dealing with advanced semiconductor packaging in Malaysia. So that was according to Bloomberg. They're looking to start doing that as well. But I think that's a pretty solid coverage of most of the stories from this morning. One or two things quickly from Friday, or that you may have missed. The Better.com CEO Vishal Garg, who the video went viral of him firing around 900 employees right before the holidays. So it actually came out on Friday that he's taking a leave of absence for a little bit to gather himself or whatever it was, which is an interesting take. But that was from Friday, and I think with that, I'll throw it back to you, Goff.
Perfect. Yeah, that was interesting to see that came out with the Better.com CEO. I guess that's what's just going to happen. We need to get rid of some of that bad press. Looking into market open, mixed-ish open, but leaning towards down right now. Again, the money is flowing into a lot of the large caps. Crypto starting off real bad. Bitcoin is already down about 1,500 from its highs this morning. And Ethereum and the rest are kind of following suit. Any other big news? We're coming into the last 2 weeks of trading in the year. Nasdaq still up 21.28%, S&P up 25.45%, the Dow up 17.5%. So just a reminder, if you're not beating these marks, you should probably own some index funds. With that being said, let's see if there's anything else. S&P is definitely going to try to close. I guess it closed at an all-time high last Friday. So it's going to try to continue that run. And I think this was mentioned several times, but Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple, NVIDIA, and Tesla account for a third of the S&P's gains this year. So I guess if you didn't have the VOO or something like that, at least hopefully you had one of these. Oh, Nick, you can go ahead and bring Danny up. The Pup of Wall Street that is requesting. So we'll get him up in here. Just waiting about 2 minutes until we hit market open, and then we're going to go through our speakers with a series of different pieces. But for right now, actually, before we get there, Stock Talk Weekly, I'll throw it over to you because we have a couple minutes. Just what are you watching for market open?
I'll just keep this brief. Just a couple things I saw this morning. I always look at mass initiations as a catalyst. There's a stock User. Many people might not be familiar with that. It's a recent IPO from November. This morning, it got a massive surge of coverage. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Baird, Needham, Canaccord, Oppenheimer, Truist, Raymond James, and Piper Sandler all initiated coverage this morning. The price targets are all between 14 and 15 bucks. I read a couple of the analyst reports this morning, did not get to all of them, but they're all pretty bullish. Stock was trading at 8:30 in pre-market. I picked up about a quarter size of my position, was waiting to do a bit more research before I skilled into this one. But, typically when you're trading these analyst upgrades, if it's from one or two banks, you might get a pop and, an unsustained move. But usually when you have these kind of mass initiations, and I mean, typically this isn't, always the case, but typically you're going to see, 15 to 30% appreciation over the course of a few weeks. So I am taking a small position here in User based on this massive analyst coverage. It just snapped back down to 8:30. So I may actually add another quarter of my position here. I'm going to watch it at the open and see if it flushes. If it flushes down back closer to that 8 level, I might add more. But I just took a little starter at 8:30 in pre-market there. Another one is a SPAC that just got halted in pre-market, which been a while since I've seen that. Halted for news in pre-market, GACQ. I'm assuming that a DA is coming. I have no idea on what the target will be, but I'm assuming a DA is coming. Not sure why a SPAC would halt for news other than that. But it's still been a while since we've seen a halt for news, even on a DA for a SPAC. So that's interesting. I'm assuming it is a big target. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have done that if it was, not going to draw volume. So watching GACQ. Another one I'm watching is Lucid coming out of this NASDAQ inclusion. I don't know if anybody remembers trading Tesla last year, but, and the year before, well, technically last year mostly. But, looking at Tesla last year, obviously the split was a catalyst. We saw the stock rally off the split. But after the S&P 500 inclusion, so November 16th, 2020, Tesla closed at around 408 bucks. On the 17th, the next day, they announced the S&P 500 inclusion. So that was November 17th, 2020. By the end of December 2020, so December 31st, 2020, Tesla closed at $708. So it was almost, 73% move in a month and a half just off that S&P 500 inclusion. And as people know, it's largely due to the volume that gets driven to the stock when all of these indices have to rebalance and funds have to add the stock. So I'm actually looking at Lucid for a short-term move there. I will probably play this by both selling calls against the equity that I already have and buying calls, but I'm going to look for a good entry. I'm going to see what the price action looks like today. It looks like even though it took that 40 level in pre-market, it's getting rejected there, heading back into the open here. So that'll be another level to climb again, because we saw that rejection, last week as well. So we'll see if it can retake that 40 level and then go higher from there. But I think it probably will trade a bit higher over the course of the next few weeks to the next month and a half based on this NASDAQ 100 edition. That's purely just that's volume-based thesis. I'm not saying that it should trade higher fundamentally, but just purely volume-based. Seeing the reaction that Tesla got from the S&P 500 inclusion, I'm going to be watching that as well. And then obviously I'm watching Apple for that 3 trillion mark. So that's just a handful of names I'm watching right now. I probably will have more added to my watch list as the price action, filters out over today. But for now, those are what I'm watching. User, that was a great ad in the 8:30. It just flicked back to 9:30, by the way, for those watching User. So we'll see how that goes during the regular session.
Keeping my eye on it. One more time, welcome in everybody. This is our regular Monday morning show to the almost 500 of you who are in here. We will be running for the next hour or two. We have a full panel of speakers that are going to be doing analysis, giving out different ideas. Reminder that this is all for educational and informational purposes. So please do your own due diligence before placing any trades. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, since I've been having a lot of issues with my connectivity, we have our awesome Wolf intern, Nick, that is right now running the Wolf account on here. So to any speakers, if you're having trouble getting up or down, this is the first space that he's helping me with. So that is why there could be a little bit of mix up there. But it looks like we have all of our speakers up here currently. So I think we're doing pretty good. And we are already past market open and we're running. So Ben, I want to throw it over to you to hear what you're looking at.
Hey, good morning. Just start generally looking to see whether we get a follow-through day or distribution. Just in general, something I look for to tell me whether this rally, or let's call it a bounce, whether this bounce is something more than just a few days of strength, or if we're going to see additional follow-through into the end of the year. We need to see a follow-through day. That's a strong day. I like to see 1.2% or better on one of the major averages, the SPY, the Q, and then see that volume increase. And given what we saw Thursday and Friday, it's not going to take much as far as volume to give us that follow-through day, but want to see strength, want to see more from the small caps too, not just the big boys. The large cap tech has been the only place that money has been flowing. I want to see some come into small caps. Outside of that, and more specifically, I'm watching energy. A little bit of a slow start for energy this morning, but that's kind of where I'm really focused. So many of those are setting up nicely. So I want to see if there's some follow through there. And then, of course, semiconductors have been great. One of the few places that have been able to kind of hide a little bit of money and not get hit. So watching semis, MU in particular. I have a position in PI, which is holding up well, relatively speaking. But just generally kind of treading lightly and zoomed out a bit just to see what kind of action we get early in the week. And I'll kind of let that guide me on whether I want to put more money to work or not. Like I said, I'm lightly invested now. If I do start to see follow through day to where the S&P or the NASDAQ shows me some strength, and specifically if I can get some strength in FFTY or IWO, and know that small cap growth, which is where I like to be involved, is going to participate, I may put a little bit more money to work into the end of the year. But a lot of it is going to be guided by what the market tells me.
So speaking of those semis, that definitely is where a lot of money's flowing. Is something like SOXL something of interest to you?
It could be. I usually try to pick my favorites in the group. But let's say there's 3 or 4 or 5 of them and I can't decide which one. It's an option. I may go that route, but usually I'm more focused on a specific setup, like I said with MU. I have a position in PI. UCTT is another one that I've been watching. Kind of a double bottom pattern, has a pivot at 59.17. I have an alert set for. So there's quite a few, individual names that I'm watching. But yeah, that's always an option, especially if you're not sure of which specific stock, going that route. SMH. Sometimes if I don't want to get a lot of, money involved right away and just want to test, sometimes you can even go with a call or two and just kind of see how it acts, how it works, and go from there. But for me, I usually have some specific stocks in mind that I'm looking for breakouts or to come through certain patterns to guide me in.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Keep my eye on some of those specific names right now. As we progress further into market open, Tesla is down about 2.2%. It has fallen underneath that 1,000 range. It has been really good at holding it, so we'll see if it is able to stage a bit of a comeback in the next, 30 minutes, the rest of the day. Additionally, SE continues its fall. Square is down 2%. I guess Block, but still trading underneath SQ. Apple is some of that lone green that we continue to see, but is falling from where it opened up about 1.2%. It's now down to about up 0.4%. I also see some green in CrowdStrike and MJ, but things like PLTR actually fell to 1850 and bounced off of that. Directly off of 1850 this morning. CLH still falling, GNI still falling. Crypto definitely not finding a ton of support just yet. Ethereum and Bitcoin are kind of doing these small coils right here. So we'll see if they're able to find any support. But Bitcoin looks like it's going a little bit lower at the moment. Okay, Richard, going over to you. Same question as Ben. What are you eyeing today? What opportunities do you see this week? Any setups?
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Similar mind as Ben. I'm watching for that fall through day confirmation. Just looking at the overall chart of the indexes. We're kind of at a tipping point here. Do we continue higher from the short-term shelf we've been building, or do we kind of break these lows? And so far in pre-market, we are well off highs, and now we've kind of fall through to the downside a little bit so far today. And not too much is working from kind of the overall universe list I had. But what I am watching is the semis, just like Ben. I'm actually trying Qualcomm, which is breaking out to all-time highs today on pretty big volume, so that's good to see. That's kind of my pick from the group here. It's showing a lot of relative strength versus the other ones. MU also looks good up the right-hand side, but it is kind of fading so far and kind of filling the gap that it had this morning. So Qualcomm overall looks a little bit stronger, so that's kind of where my focus is at. Held the 10-day nicely the past few days. And other than that, I've got kind of a wider list of tech names. Tech in general hasn't been doing well, as we know, but I was trying to focus on the ones showing relative strength. But I do think you kind of have to look elsewhere at this moment because those aren't faring too well. I'm watching Tesla. It lost 1,000. That's not a great sign for a lot of those tech names. Looks like NVIDIA is flirting with 300 again. So if those can stick above those kind of overall market levels, I kind of use those as gauges of the overall market health. I think that'd be a great sign for tech. But looking at charts, I was kind of encouraged this weekend. There was a decent amount of setups, and I'd love to see just kind of stuff firm out over the next few weeks, and then I'd love to see kind of an end of year rally. But we'll have to wait and see and take what the price action gives us.
So how would you play Qualcomm here?
Yeah, so Qualcomm, my cost, let me take a look at that, was 189.2. I bought basically as it was breaking out into all-time highs here. My stop is just below the low of the day. So as of my buy, my risk was about 1% and change. And yeah, just playing the breakout, see how it closes. If it closes strong, hopefully I have about a 2% cushion at least. But overall, I think the risk reward is good here. I know many people probably feel kind of scared buying stocks breaking out to all-time highs, but often those are the ones that continue on and make amazing runs, while everybody who didn't buy it is feeling frustrated that they didn't buy it when they had the opportunity.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Okay, Gerg, would love to get you involved in here with what you're looking at. What's on your watch list?
Yeah, what's up, guys? So my top pick is Apple right now. So Apple, I'm waiting for this to go and stay under 180. I want to buy 175 put. So far it bounced back. It did hit 179.45, but that was for a very small bit of time. It bounced right back, so it's going back down. But the Bulls want to hold up 180, so they don't want to give this up for now. But if this breaks, I'm looking to buy 175 puts. And if Apple goes to 182, I want 185 calls. So I don't care what direction this goes. I'm willing to play both sides on this because the volume and the flow is just insane.
I saw you had a few other names on your list also.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Let me catch. Yeah, so I'm watching Lucid do right. Lucid above $38, I want 40 calls, and under 34, I want 30 puts. I think the Nasdaq inclusion might make it go a bit higher. So 40 calls might be the move. I haven't looked at the price since morning. Microsoft 350, right? So 350, I might buy January 3rd week calls to ride the earnings run up. But I do believe Microsoft might be the new or the next company to hit new all-time highs after Apple. But if Microsoft goes under 334, I want to play 330 puts for weekly expiry. And so far, 16 calls if it goes under 1534, or 14 puts if it goes under 1438. Same as Tesla, right? Tesla, I want to buy 950 puts if we get 982. I wanted to buy 955, but they don't have the strike for now. But if Tesla goes above 1021, I would like to buy the 1070 puts. And just like that, Apple is under 180.
Tesla came back and held 1,000 for a second, sitting at 999. So you're saying you don't have...
Apple's back up now to 180.17. Like, yeah.
You're saying Tesla doesn't have 950 or 955?
955, right? That's why I went for 950.
I see. Yeah. There's a lot of... I guess the implied volatility is not too bad. And there's a lot of open interest.
And even with Apple, right, if you look at the flow, the 177.50 puts are just flying in. Even now. In the morning, around 9:32, so right at open, the puts were at 175. Oh, you get more now. 170 puts, January 24th expiry. They're flying in now. 340 apiece now. Yeah, Apple just gave that away. So let me go and put my order. Okay,
yeah, just got alerted by Black Box Stocks.
I would think you need to see a dump in the indices for Tesla to give up 985, in my opinion. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I think that 985 level feels like it's going to be good support temporarily. I mean, there's not like a ton of price history there, but we got a bounce there in November as well, and not just a bounce, but a massive rally when it first broke 1,000. So 975 to 985, that general area I'm watching. But I really would be surprised to see Tesla trade down there today, at least intraday. If we have a couple weekdays going into the week potentially, but intraday today, I don't think Tesla gives up that level. We'll see. I could be wrong.
And Apple's back up now. Like, Apple doesn't want to give up 180. Like, what the hell is... Yeah. So I still haven't bought that, but...
They're hammering the 170s for January 21st.
Yeah, so in the morning, right? So morning, you had 170, Friday expiry. Then you had the 175, 50 ones, even Friday ones. But now, they want 170 for January. And what's the expiry?
Yeah.
January 17th, right?
A lot of this market's still getting killed too. Like, I'm just sitting here and just seeing alerts for new 52-week low, new 52-week low. It's just crazy. So I mean, the fact is, like,
Even Spy, right?
They're
Spy was
sweeping PayPal and Microsoft now too.
PayPal. I mean,
They're
that's just
taking
you're saying
they're taking the 340s on Microsoft and they're taking the 185s on PayPal.
the puts.
Microsoft. I like the play, but
There's
PayPal.
260K of premium hits on the Lucid 60s also.
I don't see a ton of puts on PayPal coming in. Is that what you were saying, or calls?
I hope he
No,
might. Yeah.
I wasn't talking about puts. I was talking about calls. All those things I just mentioned were calls.
Yeah. I see PayPal just
But
pop by.
the out of the money activity for Lucid, I mean, I trade this almost daily and watch it almost daily. Out of the money activity for Lucid this early into the session. What are we? 15 minutes into the session. Lot of out of the money activity. I mean, it's not all sweeps, but there was a set of sweeps on the 60 strike with the leaps, actually the 2024 January expirations. So that was interesting. And then now there's some shorter dated hits on the far out of the money options for Lucid too. So I think I'm not going to say definitely the market is expecting a similar type of reaction as that S&P 500 inclusion I mentioned earlier, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar reaction to the volume influx. This is a very popular stock that's traded with explosive moves. There's a lot of gaps all over the chart. This is something that I think over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks with that NASDAQ 100 inclusion could trade a lot higher. The calls right now are saying that as well, but we'll see if they're right or if that flow changes going into the rest of the day. So Lucid options activity, I'm now taking a much closer look at. Still holding all my position in user also. That price strength is holding up pretty well. Opened at 11.5 and now it's a little bit over up 12%. So that's another one I'm watching closely. So Lucid and user, I'm watching both of those right now. I'm probably going to make a couple trades on those today.
Sweet. Let's get Matt involved too. Matt, would love to hear what you're eyeing and trading.
This morning, getting a little key indicator from our resilience indicator showing the market in general is actually deflating faster than it's inflating. We're getting a little lower lows on the S&P and NASDAQ probably going into the next hour or so. We're going to watch European markets close and see how they pan out. I agree with some of the calls some of the guys made here. Tesla looks good. Google looks good on the tech side. As far as some numbers go, I'm going to let the market relax a little bit today. My call last week was that if we push the all-time highs, we would push even higher before it sells off further. But I think being a gamma run into, or even a delta run into final close on Friday, accumulation just to exercise options. You got to see, I think today the market's going to test and relax a little bit just to make sure it doesn't need to go lower lows. I feel like we will push a little lower, especially in SPY, NASDAQ. Both of those are kind of a rate change, look like it's going to go lower even from here. I took a long right at the open. My kind of early warning sign had me dip out. So it took a little $100 loss trying to scalp the S futures long, but it's great because I missed out on another, looks like 10 points of drop. If I were to make a call in the morning, S&P is going to test, SPY is going to test about 468 and play around there and see if we get it. 21.5 is a key breakout level on VXX options. 21.5, if you kill that and market rallies, we're going to have a volatility test today, which means market can kind of test a little lower. I'm going to hold off longing anything until closer to the end of the day, if not possibly tomorrow. I think if we don't find lower lows, then the market confirms a continual slow rally for the rest of the day. None of the names look good that I've been looking at, but as far as something key to watch, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I can't wait till I finally start seeing AMC, die the death it deserves. No offense, AMC traders, but AMC's opened all signs bearish, and I don't short stocks unless I'm one of the first to short it. But it's just about to die. So we get to watch the meme thing, become a dream, I guess. And that's interesting to see. GameStop, similar boat. Nothing looks too hot to me. Some of my favorite plays, Google looks good, I think, going into later in the week. But other than that, I'm being very cautious today, taking any longs and scooping up any dips. I think the market's going to try to ask itself how strong it is this week, and we'll see that. But everyone, if you watch anything, especially if you're an index trader looking for like broader market sentiment, VIX is very key to understanding how the market goes, and volatility is just kind of the inverse of liquidity. And if the market's illiquid, it can fall really quick just because there's lack of activity. It's the holidays, there's not a lot of buyers here. There's all, global events going on, but being very cautious. And actually VXX 21.5 testing right now as we speak. If we blast through that, we might have a pretty thin fall to the market. QQQ's 395 test, S&P, SPY 468. So I think we go a little lower at the open, and then we'll see from there. So I'll check back in like an hour. I'm sitting tight. Any names you guys want me to run, Gav?
I guess maybe definitely run like QCOM would be a good one. And then I would also like to see, Playboy is falling here. I wonder if there is some support, as that's one that I did kind of scalp last week and make some money on. Yeah, those would be like two good ones to start. Gerg, were you saying something there? Or somebody started saying something?
Now, Apple calls for January are flying in. So the 180 calls, almost in the money, they are for $7 a piece. Like, they're very expensive now.
I mean, big tech sweeps are coming in. Yeah, there's a lot on Apple, but big tech sweeps.
Apple more
in
calls
general.
now. 177.50 calls expiring December 17th now.
Amazon 3460s are getting hit too. NVIDIA 310s are getting hit too. Apple 177.5s are getting hit with the both December expiries, the 1217s and the 1231s. So yeah, big tech's getting, I mean, this is the same kind of concentration we've seen, right? Like if you look at the narrative of the last 2 months, this is why individual stocks, for the most case, have been, outperforming at least the sentiment in the indices. We've seen, several trading days where, the vast majority of the market in small and mid caps, these names that have gotten beaten down on downturns in the indices, whether it's 10, 15, 20% drops, and then they don't rebound the same way when the indices, roll back up to all-time highs. So we're just seeing an overconcentration of liquidity and capital into a handful of big tech names. And I mean, there's stages in the market where this happens. It's a pretty consistent phenomenon, but we're seeing it, in a very, very obvious fashion here, not just from the macroeconomic data and looking at the market overall, but I mean, even if you're watching these sweeps and the concentration of volume, I mean, it's in a handful of names: Apple, AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft, PayPal. I mean, these big tech names are taking a lot of the capital. So I think that's the reason for a lot of the weakness and, stalled price action in a lot of these smaller and mid cap names. But I expect that to continue going into the end of the year, whether it's for rotational purposes or for protective purposes from certain funds and institutions. So, and I don't know who brought up AMC earlier. I think it was Richard. But yeah, AMC's forfeit of this 26 level was what I was watching. I just grabbed puts and I just sold a couple puts right now up 20% in about 5 minutes. So that was a nice move, giving up that 26 level for AMC. I think this trades a lot lower after giving up that, because that 26 level was pretty important.
The IV's crazy.
What'd you say?
The IV on them is crazy
AMC
right now.
Yeah, it is. It is
crazy.
Yeah.
27.5 gamma balance on dealer options, the ones we look at. You lose 27.5 today, it's a free fall on AMC. Oh, and
yeah, scalping these puts is going to be nice. I mean, I still have some. I just sold some up 20% because it happened so fast. But I mean, I'm going to keep the rest of these. I think this could even trade lower. It just looks like it's sliding now. It's all sell pressure. The level 2 looks super bearish too. So I'm definitely going to be watching AMC for more downside today as well.
I mean, it's down 10% now, right? So the AMC I've seen, whenever it goes down more than 10%, it actually bounces back the same day. So
it could, but it could, but it's getting further and further away from that 26. And maybe if it magnetizes back there with some buyers, but the further away it gets from that 26 level, the more likely we're going to see a big drop, I think.
And I know, I'm looking at sometimes. I know Thinkorswim's IV model is not so great sometimes, but I mean, 250% on some of these some of these like 23 puts that I'm looking at for like just this week alone. It's getting pretty crazy. Oh, Stock Talk. I had a 34.50 on Amazon. That's a key level. They said the 34.60 calls were smoking. If you break 34.50 markets, it's going to hold really well. So those are probably.
I mean, not huge sweeps for Amazon, but yeah, I mean, there's a bit of activity. 34.60 calls. I'm seeing like 330K in premiums that just came across my screen. So
nice.
Yeah, decent slaps there. Shops getting some puts right now too. 360K puts on Shops at the 14.50 strike, near term expiry too. So that's interesting. Ooh, a golden sweep just came across. Snap $50 calls, 1.37 million in premiums.
Dude, Robinhood's continuing to get destroyed. Anything happening there? It's under 20 now. Anything with calls or anything like that?
I think it got downgraded this morning, right, Evan? I think you tweeted that.
Yeah,
I got a price
the puts are coming in on Robinhood.
Didn't it get downgraded by JP Morgan, Evan? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs.
The price target's 31 still, so it's at 20, and they're neutral.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of headwinds for Robinhood going into next year.
That's not a neutral rating, though.
But their price target was 31, right? But it's trading under that.
Wait, so they kept
20.
it, Evan? They kept it overweight or what?
No, they kept it at neutral.
Oh,
but their price target, they lowered the
price. Their price
target's
50% higher. More.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I just think there's a ton of headwinds for all brokerages going into next year. You're not going to see the same influx in accounts that you saw over the last year and a half, which is really what's driving value for most of these companies. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Robinhood in the 15 soon. Kathy Wood's probably getting slaughtered on that position. I don't know how big her position is, but down 43% in a month now. Ouch.
Yeah.
Dude, this makes me think, though.
Pretty wild.
This makes me think, though, analyst ratings, what even are we doing? Like, the neutral with a 50%.
I mean, let's not fool ourselves. Analyst ratings are all for manipulative purposes. I mean, like, you got to think of it that way when investment banks are giving out targets, right? Like, it's all, I mean, I've never taken analyst price targets seriously, but I mean, they can be great catalysts, as we all know, to trade off of, especially when you have mass initiations. Like user today, like I'm already up like almost 9% on user. But yeah, I mean, like those kind of targets are limitedly useful and limitedly significant unless you have mass initiations where like all of the street just jumps on one end of the ball, because then so much volume goes in that direction that you usually get favorable price action. But I mean, yeah, let's make no mistake, banks are definitely have their interests in mind when they're putting those targets out.
So a couple of things real quick. First off, Tesla just gave up key levels and fell past 985.
Yep, I was definitely wrong on that. I'm glad I didn't act on that. But yeah, I thought it wouldn't give up 985, but it did. We'll see if it can retake it here.
Definitely. And I want to get a couple other people involved on here. Also, I see Bobby Gattuso in the crowd. Nick, if you want to drop Bobby a invite to come up and speak, that'd be great. So a couple of things real quick. If you're listening to this, I think we have over 600 people on here. Make sure that you're please following these speakers. They're all doing amazing stuff. Myself, and I run the Wolf account up here. So please, we have 14 spaces scheduled for this week. If you're not already following the Wolf account, I'd love to get that to 40K this week. We're so goddamn close. Please at least let's get to 39 on this call. That would be amazing for the Wolf account. And then Stock Market News, Stock Talk Weekly will be hosting a ton of spaces with me throughout the week. They're doing a bunch of different things. They're working with everyone from Wall Street to retail traders and so much more. Ben and Richard and Danny that you see up here are really like my TA go-to guys. I'm always dropping things. Matt is an awesome futures trader, has really unique systems. So I've been bringing him on many more of these. I love his perspective. And then, of course, we all know Gerg, the SPAC King, the Crypto King, and everything else in between. And then big shout out to Bullish Rippers, who does sponsor a bunch of our spaces and works with us closely. And does so much with us. Like, these are amazing people for you to be following. They will bless your timeline. And come on, I mean, they're giving out so much free. I hate to use the term, but alpha here. Let's use it. Let's bring it to the stock world. With that being said, okay, I want to drop it back to you, Richard, and then I'm going to get Danny involved. And one more time, Nick, drop Bobby Gattuso a speaker invite if possible. And shout out to Nick, who's on the Wolf account right now, helping us out so much with this. Okay. Richard, coming back to you and Ben. Sorry, I know there's a lot of speakers on this morning, and of course, all my speakers. If at any point you do want to get involved and we're not calling on you or something, feel free to use that raise hand feature always to get involved. But Richard, what have you been eyeing in the last 30 minutes since market open?
Yeah, sure. So far, my screens have kind of weakened. Honestly, the strongest stock on my focus list is Rivian, which is a nice 2-2 reversal today, holding that anchor VWAP from, let's see, that day 12.8. But other than that, Qualcomm is actually faltering. I actually cut half my position here. Rest at the stop is just a stop at the low of the day here. I would like to see it just fall through to the upside and close strong for me to hold the rest of my position. Other than that, I'll probably just cut near the end of the day if I don't get stopped out already. But overall, things aren't shaping up great. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts on kind of the FOMC announcement later this week. We haven't really talked about that, but obviously that's super important for the markets and the direction going forward.
Yeah, I would love to touch on that. Dan, you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. You hear me? I was having some issues earlier this morning.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So just exactly what Richard said. Day trading hat on this week. We have FOMC. I think Jay Powell speaks at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. I don't know if anybody had mentioned it, but it's quad witching this week as well. So a lot of funny things can happen. I don't like to swing through these types of weeks. There's just, with the VIX elevated, FOMC, quad witching, end of the year, a lot of noise going on. I think, better to sit on your hands. If you're a day trader, then this is great. If you love playing volatility, fantastic. But also looking at some individual names like Apple and Microsoft had really, really good days on a really good day on Friday, and today they're kind of chilling out. AMD caught a nice pullback this morning, but looks like it's giving that back up. But a couple of names that stood out to me this morning, Facebook had a beautiful move, almost a 10-point move, blasted through my 335 entry, hit my 340 target. So that's looking pretty good. A little bit of a surprise that caught me off guard is Adobe. Adobe had looks like almost like a 30-point move, 25-point move this morning. So that's looking pretty strong. But overall, the market just feels a little on the weaker side. The Qs and the SPY and certainly IWM, small caps, I mean, it can't even, every time it comes close to like 220, 221, it just falls. So, for me, I'm going to be watching that 221 level around IWM for a signal to possibly take to the upside. But, small caps in the meantime, they're just getting slaughtered, growth getting slaughtered. So right now, I'm really just focused on where's the call flow, where's that pointing me. Also looking at Snow. Snow had a false breakout this morning. I was watching 375. We spiked about 2 points over that and pulled right back, but we've got a really nice squeeze setting up on the 30-minute on Snow. So watch Snow coming into today and tomorrow. I think that could be a really interesting trade. But outside of that, definitely watching the semiconductors. AMD, like I said, took a trade on that this morning. MU looks good. Qualcomm looked good. LRCX looked good. I also was watching AMAT. And outside of that, on my weekly watch list, I was looking at Walmart. Still pretty flat on the day at 141. Watching Ford to see if we got continuation. That looks like it's pulling back. So want to see if Ford holds $20. And outside of that, I think that was pretty much it. Looks like D-Dog had a nice bounce off that inclusionary note over the weekend. TTD also in a really interesting range between 94 and 97. So keeping a close eye on that. But yeah, I mean, listen, we've been saying this for weeks now. There's just been so much noise in the market from the holiday shortened week to Omicron to now quad witching, FOMC. I think it's going to be really interesting what comes out of the FOMC on Wednesday, and I'm definitely really interested to see if they signal anything about interest rates, maybe pushing them higher faster. Obviously, inflation is still an issue. Supply chain is still an issue. Now with Omicron, it seems like Omicron is more virulent, but not as deadly as the Delta variant. So I'm definitely hyped on that news. They sold the market off on that. Wall Street bought the dips. Let's see what comes out on Wednesday. I think that will be the true signal to how the end of this year finishes off. if there's nothing nothing interesting about raising interest rates quicker, faster, if everything remains status quo, then I think we have a nice rally into the end of the year. But if they signal anything outside of that, I think we just have to be very, very careful.
Definitely continuing to keep a watch on everything that they are saying, as that is going to factor in heavily. Okay, Bobby, let's get you involved real quick.
Sure.
What are you looking at?
Well, first, good morning, guys. Right now, I'm looking at Pfizer, and I'm trying to see if they can break the 55.70 level that we had about 20 days ago. And those calls are up about 220% today, so it's having a good day. And some good news on an acquisition they just made. Actually, it just came over like 3 minutes ago. It was Arena Pharmaceuticals. Other than that, I've been watching Rivian. There was a beautiful chart that we posted this morning. It was a 65-minute chart, and it was breaking above the 50-day SMA. So both of those are on my watch list. Other ones, the one gentleman spoke about Walmart. I'm watching that one as well. After they paid the dividend last week, and I think it would drop to 136. Now it's like the 141 level. There's room for the upside, but we got to wait. Be patient. So those are the three I'm watching for the day.
Okay.
Yo,
Yeah,
look at Apple
go for it.
now.
Say again?
Look at Apple now.
Apple? Is it the
almost back at the 182 now?
Is it 3 trillion market cap now?
No, not yet. It's 2.98 trillion, so almost.
It's incredible.
So this might hit 3 trillion before the space ends. So 2.9 trillion right now.
182.85 around there is when it does it.
Yeah, it might do that right now. So
relative strength here again, bucking the trend over the markets. Facebook about to make a new high a day. Watch Facebook over 340.
Yeah, I like Facebook here. Are you playing calls or just comments? Just commentary?
So I had a trigger this morning over 335. My target was 340, so I took a quick trade. I'm not going to roll up just based on what the market is doing overall, but it still looks really good. Next level coming up here looks to be about 342. If it can break over 342, then Facebook this week can hit between 348 and 350. So I think really interesting. Watch for the market to turn here. If the market turns, Facebook is going to have a monster run this week.
I agree with Danny. This is a key spot for Facebook and for all the market. Market will, if it pivots, it's now or never. And they're looking. A lot of them are looking strong at the door. I think Facebook has a lot of room to go, and I think that's going to be one of the major ones that sparks the rest of the tech going. After a 340 break on monthly options, you're clean to go as far as it wants to go. So it might be a really good sign for that one.
So does anybody have a position
over 342?
What'd you say, Danny?
Point pop over 342. So
nice.
I think the 350s for next week can work over 342. But keep in mind that if you didn't take a trade earlier on that, if you're not rolling, then it's definitely a much riskier trade because it's already run about 11 points today. So just be careful. But if you're playing just with profits, I think rolling up over 342 makes a lot of sense.
I concur.
Ben, let's get you back in this. What's been going on with you since the last 40 minutes?
I also had my eye on Snow. That was an inside week coming out there over 375. Just want to see if that sticks. If it does, next level up at 405. But I did not pull the trigger on that one, at least not yet. But watching it and watching the general market here, a little weaker than what I was hoping for. I was actually up almost 12% in PI, so I went ahead and rang the register on that. Something else I'm looking at, though, and Bitcoin's going to have to get moving, or crypto in general, but SI had that secondary at 145, and it's trading right there. I like to use that secondary offering price as a pivot. So I'm watching that at 145 is kind of intraday, set up a little triangle right at that level. I want to see if 145 holds and it can get out of this triangle to the upside. I might be able to take something there intraday. So just watching that one carefully. And obviously got to watch Bitcoin too to give me an idea on whether it's going to work or not.
Would love to throw some potential maybe short ideas out here too. I don't know if Stock Talk Weekly, you're always talking about, playing both sides. So I'd love to hear maybe your thoughts on any put plays. I see Abercrombie and Fitch, which is ANF. They just had two puts that came in, and basically the open interest was 88. They're both on the December 17th $34 strike, and one of them came in with a volume of 600, and one of them came in with a volume of 300. So the volume is way greater than the open interest in these cases. Stock's already down 26.5% on the month, almost 4% down on the day. Those puts are up 95% currently on the day, but the implied volatility is only 57%. So just seeing if you have any interest in, maybe not that specific, but any other puts or areas in the market.
Besides those AMC puts I took earlier, another name I'm looking at to get puts on is Uber. I saw some hits this morning on the flow on the Uber $35 puts. So I'm peeking at those. I haven't added any yet, but the price action is a bit choppy right now on Uber. I'm waiting to see what direction it chooses to go intraday, but Uber is a name that I'm looking at to get puts for. I know a lot of people were hoping for a rebound now that it was down to IPO levels, but what I'm thinking is that it probably trades lower, barring a catalyst. Getting back down to IPO levels isn't always a good thing, even though it may sound like that. Uber has just continued to increase their margin of loss for many, many years now, and I'm not sure that they've really illustrated a path to extreme profitability, which a company of that size should have a game plan by now. So fundamentally and technically, I'm not a fan of Uber here. But again, I won't rush into that decision. I don't love what the price action is doing right off the open. There's a lot of indecision. So, but I am watching those sweeps come in. If I see more sweeps come in on those same contracts, I might hop in those with them. But yeah, again, that was the 35 puts that they're getting on Uber. So Uber and AMC are two names I'm looking at right now. AMC obviously has that cult feature where you might have some crazies coming in and buying the dip, YOLOing it up. But, I'm watching that to see if it bounces harder, and I might get out of the rest of those that I have that they're up nicely. But those are two names that I'm watching for puts right now. There's probably a variety of other really great ones. Market is weak right now, and there's a lot of charts that have broken down, a lot of names that are trading under key moving averages. So with a little bit of work, I'm sure I could give you a handful of names that I like for puts, but I'll be looking into that today. Sometimes I like hedging my long positions with puts on individual stocks more than I do, like shorting the indices. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Two names I'm looking at right now.
Okay. Keeping our eyes on
I
those.
also like a lot of the Bitcoin miners for short here. A lot of those charts are broken down to, I'm looking at potentially looking at what Mara looks like it wants to do here. Looks like it wants to come back up, but I'll keep watching the price action there. I think another good one right here might be a hot short. So a couple of those names, I think, just on Bitcoin weakness, they usually have a hard time holding support. So those Bitcoin mining names tend to be good shorts in this climate as well. So that's just a couple ideas.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at HUT right now. I do see it kind of forming that descending pattern, already down 44% this month. Crazy how fast these things move. Okay, keeping it rolling. Stock market news. Would love to come back to you to see if maybe, there's any stocks you wanted to throw out to get charted, to get looked at, anything along those lines, or just any ideas?
Well, honestly, I've been staring at Apple pretty much this entire time, both for wanting it to hit the $3 trillion market cap milestone, and then it's my largest holding. So I'm naturally attracted to it. It's at 181.5. Facebook was one that I saw running. We did touch on it briefly, but I would love to get maybe a little bit deeper into that one. I would love to hear some thoughts on maybe sports betting names. Always good to get the opinion there. And then maybe an Alibaba or another Chinese name could be a good direction to go. But Gav, before that, we have been live for almost an hour now, and we haven't talked about the Google Calendar at all. I would love to maybe get 20, 30 seconds on that or whatever it is before we get on to the next part.
Absolutely. Very glad that you brought that up. To everyone that's listening, the crowd listening close real quick. because if you haven't heard about the Google Calendar, you're going to want to be on this. So essentially, we know that you all have so much going on. I'm sure that there's plenty of people that have full careers in this crowd, everything from trading to construction to doctors and everything else. And we love that. And we want you to be able to plan out your day so that you can both do everything that's important to you and spend time with your families, but also come and hear from these spaces with, I mean, look at this panel. Basically, everybody that's on this panel supports themselves full-time through investing. Many of them have been successful and been doing it for years and years, if not decades. With that being said, we have gone ahead and created a Google Calendar. This means it is free. Anybody can join. Anybody can overlay this onto their personal calendar. And that way you will know when any of our spaces are going to happen, basically a week out. So all that you have to do to get on this is just go ahead, DM either myself or Stock Market News with your email. And just Gmail is preferable, but if not, that's okay. And we'll go ahead and we'll add you right onto it. And what that'll allow you to do is just see when all of the events are. Again, we have like 14 spaces this week. It won't clutter it up because you can toggle them on and off right from your calendar. And there's over 1,500 people that are currently using this to see when all of our spaces are. We think that there's a lot of value to these spaces to be able to hear from people that are doing this successfully and are being transparent. That's what we preach on our spaces, is transparency. So once again, if you're not already on it, just hop in right now to the DMs. I see a couple DMs coming in. Just drop your email, ask it on the calendar. We'll get you on it within 24 hours, and you'll be able to see exactly when all of these spaces are happening. People who work at Twitter Spaces are on this calendar. We also, it's working. And the other thing is now that it allows us to internally record these spaces, we also then add the tweet with the recording to the calendar. So in case you miss a space and you're like, wow, I actually really wanted to know more about, how to conduct fundamental analysis or something about crypto or NFTs. And we do all different types of spaces as well. This will be your way to go back and hear those recordings. It'll be your way to find everything in one place. It's kind of that all in one. So once more, just drop that to us in the DMs and make sure you're following both the Wolf account and Stock Market News so that you can see when those spaces are, because not only do you want to be on the calendar, but you want to be able to come in and actually see them at the top of your timeline. Cool. Anything else you want to add to that, Stock Market News?
No, that was perfect. Just make sure you send the emails when you send the DM, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We will need the emails. I see some people saying that they want it on the calendar. I do need your Gmail, preferably, but I can do it with other emails too. Okay, so I know that you had said that you wanted...
Everyone DM Gav, not Gavin.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, just 2 people reached out, so just see.
It's true. Yeah. Sorry. This account or the Wolf account or anybody that's up here as a host or co-host, you can DM. And also I put all of my spaces, Stock Market News and Stock Talk Weeklies are on there. So you'll see things like when Stock Talk Weekly's having his play of the week, that'll be on there. When we're doing FinTwit Friday, that will be on there. I've got a space tomorrow where it's like technical analysis. We've got market sentiment, stock picking. Again, so many. And also if you go into the Wolf account that's up here, the pinned tweet is all the spaces for the week. So you'll be able to see everything that's happening and just, so much more. Okay. With that being said, we'd love to go to some of the things that you mentioned. So Evan, you threw out there Apple, Alibaba, and one other. Is there a specific one you want to go to and a specific person that you want to hear about it from?
You could pick the person based on who hasn't talked in the longest. I know we have a bunch of people up here and I want to keep everyone involved. I would love to start with maybe the sports betting names, because I don't think we've really talked about any of them too much. Maybe DraftKings or Penn. But you could choose.
Matt, do you have the data pulled for those?
Yeah, to look at Penn. 1 second, hold on. I'm looking at Penn. Penn has a key level at 50. It looks like everything is looking really bearish for that. Let me see if I have pull the chart really quick. 50.5 breakout would be a key sign for anything to the upside, but all data looks down. 50 major resistance on 50. There's nothing but put wall support. You have to break through like 54 to get any real power on that stock. So I think Penn is kind of pulling its way down. All 3 of our signals are down for that thing. So 50 is going to be a hard break today. It gapped down. It's probably going to keep going. This is a chance market in general is probably going to see some bounce. So we'll see what we do, but I don't expect a 50 break anytime this week, at least for the first half of the week. So what was another one that you're checking out? By the way, Microsoft right now, I'd keep an eye on that. Microsoft and Apple have a similar look, but it's kind of one of the ones I think might actually be, if there's any hope, a 342.5 is a clean support, and it just broke through it. So if we hold that, some of the tech's going to start moving. What other name, Evan, did you want me to look at real quick?
Let's go with Disney. I feel like we haven't had that much of Disney as well. Might be a similar type chart, but
My favorite stock. I love Disney. Disney is still in that kind of short down setup, 150 resistance, 155 key gamma breaks. Disney almost looks exactly the same as Penn. It has that same kind of breakout potential, nothing till 155. So in intent, you're exactly right. They're exactly the same setup, and they all have the same pressure switching all different directions. But 155 is literally key resistance, and 150 is strong put side of the market. So we're kind of in the middle of a range, and if the market starts to continue to sell today, I think there's a lot more downside to Disney. As far as the target I'm looking at for that guy, any retracement about 149, 149 and a half looks like where there was actual volume support going back to 2 weeks ago. So Disney not looking so hot, Penn not looking so hot.
Danny, I saw you unmuted there.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say about Microsoft. I totally agree. We're at a really critical level. I think if we can hold on the 30-minute over 340, let's call it 343.
Cut out there for a minute.
Lost you, Danny.
All right, we will give Danny just a second to come back in. Also, big shout out to Bobby Gattuso, who's in here. If you see him, the handsome gentleman in the suit with the name Bobby over here. Bobby also is, as you can see in his bio, working with the Wolf team, helping to produce charting and content, doing some TA for us, and obviously tuning in and providing some great information on these spaces. So if you're not already following Bobby, vouch, big member of the Wolf team. Okay. Speaking of which, Bobby, would love to come to you if there's any other stocks you want to talk about. And also, Nick, I see Peter is requesting. You can bring up Peter Tuffman.
Sure. Hey, thanks for that intro. That was very lovely. One of my favorite stocks to watch is QuantumScape, and that one's been being hammered over the last 10 days or so. So I'm watching that one and see which kind of key level that we're going to be at by the end of the week. It just dropped down to 23.41, and I'm just trying to figure out, where the bottom is on this one. If anyone has any thoughts on QuantumScape, let me know. It went up to about $40 mid-November, and it's come all the way down to 23. So it's pretty interesting.
That's a wild stock. I mean, right from the IPO, it's been just a wild ride.
Yeah.
All over the place. Okay, let's take a pause real quick from the stocks. So just a reset for everybody that has come in here since. This is Good Morning FinTwit. We do this every single week. We've been running for a while now, myself and Stock Market News as the main co-host. Stock Talk Weekly, Gerg, Ben, Richard, and Peter have been staples of this. Recently, Danny and Matt and Bobby have been joining us more often. So this will be going for a while. We come in every Monday morning. We do an hour to two of live news, stock analysis. So you get your breaking news here. We talk about earnings. We talk about any Fed meetings. And what we're about to go into now is our macro session. So Peter Tuffman coming to us from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, a veteran of the industry, a great follow if you're already not checking him out, and a very important person in the world of finance, kind of leads our macro session. So I'd love to come to you, Peter. I know we have some stuff going on this week.
Well, good morning, everybody. What a great team. It's good to see you all. I'm honored to be on this dais here with this crew. It's really fun. And you guys have been on for a while, and it is one of the great shows on Twitter Space. So I'm really happy to be part of it. Kind of curious this morning, we came in, market was trading sort of in positive mode earlier before the opening, and we opened up with sort of a lackluster opening. The market had started to fade, and now we're seeing it get banged around a little bit. I'm not, look, there's a lot on the table, a lot of moving parts today. I'm sure that the word coming out of London that somebody has actually died from Omicron is probably what sort of spooked the market a little bit. And I think that's going to be the story of the afternoon, although we're hitting a little bit of technical stuff here at the 469 level in the SPY right below that. It seems like a little bit of a double bottom, but this week is a significant week, guys. We got Fed meeting on Wednesday. We have an S&P rebalance on Friday. I just saw the list, and the list is massive, and we have a quad witch coming into it. So look, there are moving parts. December has proved to be a little bit choppy here. Let's go over what we've seen over the last 8-9 trading days, going back to the Friday of Thanksgiving, post Thanksgiving, that market down 930. That day, a bit of a dead cat bounce on Monday. Tuesday, we came in. Market seemed like there was some fresh money coming in for December. As we've seen historically, the first few days of the month are a bit positive as fresh money comes into the market. But that was sort of broken down by Jay Powell's comments about putting transitory into the graveyard. Then we saw Wednesday, we saw that positive enthusiasm, though a little irrational on Wednesday, get spooked again once Jay Powell came back to the Congress and did not talk back or walk back that story about transition. The market did a massive reversal from up 500 to down 500 on that Wednesday. And that sort of has been the temperament here. We did see Thursday come in up 650. Once again, fresh money coming in, enthusiasm back into the market. Sort of the bulls sort of marched on. And then we came into Friday and the market was sort of skittish Friday. There was some anxiety about transition, about the virus and whatnot. And then we came in last week was super strong market. I mean, we saw 1, 2, 3 days up, a rally of about 1,500 points. Yet we have seen some stocks trading on their 52-week lows. We did see a number of names come in with really good earnings last week, yet they posted out 3-4% losses after the earnings come in. So I say all this to say that we've got a lot of moving parts. We've got a lot of money being moved around in this market. We're going to see people posture themselves. I guess we're going to see tax loss selling coming into the end of the month or the middle of the month. We're going to see people take off their high flyers and take off profits there. We are going to see a lot of people position themselves into a quad witch. And I mean that by saying that there's going to be a lot of option layoff business. What we see when we have rebalances are that people have got a big option play coming into the quad witch. And then we've got a lot of people positioning themselves for a short-term trade coming into the rebalance on Friday. The list is large. Look, the more the market has moved, the larger moves we've seen in stocks, SPYs, and VIX, the larger the rebalances tend to be on these S&P rebalance days. And this year, for sure, is a testament to that in every possible way. The list is large, the list is long, and the movements are going to be huge. We're going to see 4 or 5, I would imagine probably about a 10 billion share, $10 billion trade coming into Friday. The positioning of it on the long side or short side, I will not know until that day comes in. But, I can keep you all posted on that. The imbalance is, the funny thing about the S&P rebalance, guys, is net, it's an even trade. Whatever goes in, there's the same amounts coming out. But that doesn't mean it's going to be an even trade on the notional value of the trade. Those days tend to be huge, and we really don't know until that day because you've got the S&P 500 rebalance, you've got a quad witch, and we don't know what people's posture is coming into the quad witch. The moves have been big, and so I say all this to say, coming out of 8 days of what I perceive be one of the most volatile weeks we've seen. I just noticed the VIX as we came onto the call this morning. The market came in a little bit flat this morning. It felt like a positive posture, opened and sold off pretty hard. The VIX is spiking. So there is anxiety in the market. I think it is definitely a little bit of an Omicron story. We've got mandates coming into New York City, whether warranted or not. I do monitor COVID because I'm a COVID survivor and it means a lot to me and I'm suffering from it in a long-term way. So I tend to really be observant about it, and not to be political at all, but I do know 9 people who came out of, and I'm saying this to you, Gav, 9 people who came out of Art Basel who came back to New York COVID positive. So, there is definitely a spike in the virus going on in the city and around the country. So I beg of you all to be protect yourselves and be vigilant about that. But coming into the week, Fed Wednesday, triple quad witch Friday, and S&P rebalance Friday. So there's a lot of movement going around. This market could go virtually anywhere over the next few days.
Wow, a lot going on there. Always good to bring in the new news, and definitely with the virus, important to be safe. Thank God. I have not been feeling sick or anything. Wasn't at kind of some of the main Art Basel stuff too, but yeah, I mean, with the Fed, talking this week and all the craziness in the world, I think what we've been kind of mentioning is our gravitation towards large caps like Apple, Facebook, and some others, a movement away from some of the small cap growth. We've seen it kind of hitting crypto. I don't know if it's necessarily what's affecting crypto, but it's continuing to fall. Peter, are you also seeing, on the floor, this gravitation towards, the large caps? And even Apple now, by the way, went negative on the day, and Tesla's down almost 5%. So, what's happening here? Where's the money going?
You know what? I've got to believe, look, I mentioned this with you guys a couple of weeks ago, that a lot of what we see here at the end of November are a lot of hedge funds that have had successful years closing out their positions at the end of the month, right? Why would you ever want to turn a winning year into a losing year? They get paid off their commission. A lot of these funds that have been, have been successful, close down their books at the end of November. They get paid that way, and what would you want better in one of the most volatile years in history to be able to go back to your investors and say, guys, we're up 18% for the year. The market is, while has only trading a few percent off its all-time highs, the market has been a bit skittish. A lot of the stocks that were the high flyers of the year during 2020 and parts of 2021 have given back so much of those profits. And that's why we've seen these moves be so huge. So, guys, once again, if the movement of the market over the last week and a half have been nothing more than an amazing testament, and I know I pound the pavement on this every friggin' week, but that technical analysis, as a long-term investor, net markets go up. We know that, right? And you don't look at, you've got to look at your portfolio at the end of the year. And I hope everyone had a profitable year, but it was a difficult year. There are a lot of hedge funds that were not long short guys who were not able to pivot themselves out of some of the darker moments of this year. And I wish them the best for next year. But I beg you all to realize that if nothing more, the last 7 days of volatility is a testament to technical analysis being a great way to trade this market, guys, right? We have seen some of the most volatile, wild moves of the market, and the moves in some earning stocks and some meme stocks and some crypto and whatnot have really lay to bear the word that technical analysis is the best way to really deal with some of this volatility. If you have an opinion about markets and if you have an opinion about stocks, whether they're earning related or they're taper and inflation related or whatever they may be, I would imagine you probably get your ass handed to you. If you all made money on this last 7 days of trading, I wish you all the best, because to hate, it's a beautiful day. It's like Christmas in July. But if you haven't, I beg you all, look, and to be a shout out to myself, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., Tuesday night, here in New York and in Boca, we're doing a live free webinar, Markets in Turmoil, using risk management and technical analysis to navigate this market successfully. David Green and I are doing it. Everybody go to wallstreetglobaltradingacademy.com. Tomorrow night, it's free. It's live. It's me and David Green trying to give you guys a little bit of an edge to have trading this market coming into the end of this year. What's happening now is, on a day trading perspective, we've never seen more spectacular moves in some of these names if you've got the tools necessary. If you have an opinion, it's painful. We see it. I get calls every day about people who got into stocks on phone, on earnings, on opinion about the taper, about inflation, about supply chain, and they're trying to get back to even, and they are getting their asses handed to them, excuse me. Whether it's a meme stock, an earnings stock, whatever it may be, we could pull up any name you want to talk about that has seen high-flying movement and percentage moves on the upside, and then once, for no particular reason except the hype and the FOMO, and then the same thing on the downside. Let's look at DocuSign the other day, guys, right? I mean, the only reason a stock like that, which is one of the most wonderful stocks during COVID, to get hit $100 on one day due to missing earnings at some level, which is a little bit of an overreaction on the upside and downside, is technical analysis, right? Sometimes these moves that are up on the big, on the bullish hype story will fall the same way for no particular reason. And if you have an opinion and you love a stock at 260 and it goes to 200, look at Alibaba, guys, right? It's cut in thirds, right? From 370 down where it broke $100. It's hard to have an opinion on these names, because what you're seeing is that a lot of guys, big players, way bigger than me, way bigger than this market, who are basically decided they want out of a stock they really don't give a damn about pricing. They have made so much money on the upside. When they want to hit a button and get out, that's why you see DocuSign go down $100. The reactions in this market are so volatile. The liquidity can be brutal, and I don't want to see pain. I want to see gain. I want everybody to be successful. You've all been invited to this party, right? And I want you all to have somewhat of an edge, have the tools necessary to trade this market. I'm not talking about investing. Trade this market successfully. Every day we see opportunities. Technical analysis is the gift that keeps on giving. So please join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. It's live. It's free. David Green, my mentor, my friend, and my partner, is one of the great technicians in the space. And we'll be just dropping some knowledge about what we can do to try and put the probability in your favor that you can make money more often than you lose. Make the best out of your winners, lose the least out of your losers.
All really good stuff. And I already put out a tweet also for anybody that's interested in finding that. You can go to Peter's page and definitely find out more information, but he'll be having that session. Is that tomorrow evening, Peter? Right?
Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Yes, Eastern Standard Time. You just
Perfect.
you gotta go to Wall Street Global Trading Academy and register because space is limited. We'd love to have you all there, and the course will actually be on sale tomorrow night. It'll be great to have everybody there.
Love it. Love it. Danny, it looked like you had some comments on what Peter was saying there. And then I would love to, dive into the fact that this market is falling right here and maybe if there's some opportunity.
Yeah, very well said, Peter. Peter also mentioned quad witching. That's not a name that shows up very often. It's in the name, right? Quad. It only happens 4 times a year. So just wanted to make sure everybody in the audience understood that that's when the stock index futures, the stock index options, stock options, and single stock futures expire simultaneously. This only happens 4 times a year. It happens on every third Friday of March, June, September, and December. So just wanted to make sure everybody understood what that means. And, again, going back to the volatility, you have to know if you want to be a trader, you have to understand that the weeks where there's a big Fed talk, the weeks where it's triple witching or quad witching, they are always going to be volatile. So we need to be very careful and say, that the sky is not falling, the stock market is not falling, it's pulling back, it's trading within a range. And so as I'm looking at it, right, Apple, was at 182, it just pulled back to its 8 EMA on the 30-minute chart. It looks fine. It looks completely fine. Facebook made a big run up. It's pulled back 5 points. Well, it went up 12 points. We have to be very cognizant of what we're actually looking at. When a stock pulls back 2 to 3%, the sky is not falling, especially a stock that's been running 10, 15% over the last month or two. I think we all got drunk on the 2020 Kool-Aid juice, right? Everybody wants to see stocks go up 20, 30, 40% in a month or 2 months. That's not the way the market works, right? This is more normal. You normally see periods of chop before you see the breakouts or the breakdowns. I mean, this is just what it is. So we just all have to be very, conscious and watch the market. You don't have to trade every single day, but what you should do, excuse me, is observe the price action. Get that muscle memory going. Understand, hey, what did the market trade the last time there was quad witching? Let's look at that intraday volatility for that week and let's see what happened. You have to build muscle memory for the different types of markets that we're going to see because the market does not trade the same way every single day.
Thank you so much. That was awesome, Danny. I agree with you. People need to understand that this is actually healthy in so many ways, right? When you're building a building, you got to make sure your bricks are in there correctly. Pullbacks are so healthy for stocks in further bullish movement for sure. And we have to realize you're absolutely right that people are, the old diamond hands, people drinking the 2020 Kool-Aid. That's not how markets work historically. And I think whether this is not your grandpa's stock market, we are seeing some moves that are crazy in some names, but in the major fundamental names, the things that make up this market in such a pivotal way, pullbacks are healthy. People should have shopping lists sitting around. People should get some, even if you're looking from an investment point of view, a technical analysis can be helpful for entry point into stocks. When stocks pull back to moving averages, watch that, pay attention. This is a time to learn. And as you said, you don't need to trade every day. There is opportunity every day. but people should have a plan every time they get into a stock. And they should use risk management to protect the downside, because what we're seeing is there are people way bigger than us in this market. And I know you mentioned the quad wedge, but let's be clear also that we have an S&P rebalance that happens quarterly also. And this one is the biggest one of the year. And you're going to see billions and billions of shares trade on Friday, not only option business, how it relates to equity, but S&P rebalances in funds and in indexes that are huge. And sometimes those work in concert with each other, where the option directionality and the S&P rebalance directionality are in concert. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's being used as a hedge against other positions. So you guys, to have an opinion about this week, if everybody's making a bet about what they think the Fed's going to say, or about the quad wedge, or about the S&P, you've got three massively moving parts that could go contango, perfect storm, shitstorm, guys, or it could not. So I beg people to really be patient and watch price action if they're going to trade this week.
Love it. Ton going on in this market. Would love to bring in some more of my speakers up here. Ben, would you like to weigh on some of the macro stuff if you have any input? And then also, just touching back with you, I know that you're always looking at, is it volatility reports or something that's coming out every 15 minutes? And if you have a report.
Put call ratio. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I look for there is sentiment, and I like to see extremes in sentiment. So especially when the retail crowd all tends to lean one direction, a lot of times we see the market react in the exact opposite direction. Let me see what the early read is. It's not coming up for me, but we've seen that over, especially last week, we saw some of the highest readings as far as bearish sentiment that we've seen since the COVID lows. Actually, the early read on it, 0.93, I don't really trust that one as much as the next reading. But what I like to see, and this kind of ties in with the Fed too, before QE and in the periods of QE, we used to look for a reading of 1.2 or higher, which meant more puts were being purchased than calls. That's how we read that sentiment and can tell that the retail crowd is quite bearish. Once QE kicked in, we rarely ever got a reading above 1.0, which meant there was basically one put for every call. And when we got in that range, the market would tend to bottom, especially if we were oversold. If you use some oscillators to see that we were oversold and then tag that 1.0, boom, up we went. Now we're hitting readings 1.16, 1.17. We're oversold, but the market isn't really reacting like we had seen previously, at least not yet. But we're hitting those sentiment numbers. Now, with the Fed kind of pulling back a little bit, are we going to need to see readings again of 1.2, where it's a much further extreme in bearish sentiment as compared to during QE? Actually, it just updated now, 0.88. So again, I would say that's kind of neutral. Doesn't really give us much help either way. But we did see readings last week that were plenty high enough to kind of trigger a meaningful and tradable bottom. Once we see that, we look for price momentum to turn the other way. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we look for a follow-through day, look for some strength, look for some price confirmation that, the bottom's in place. Right now, not really seeing that, but it's early. It's a Monday morning. As you've covered, there was a lot of news out there. So we'll just have to see. Still too early, in my mind, to kind of make a decision one way or another. At the same time, I'm continuing to protect first, because we did look like it was going to be a strong open, and kind of they sold right into that. So just see how it plays out the rest of the session.
Got it.
Let me add. You have today is day 5. We usually like to see that follow through day between day 5 and day 9. So we're kind of right in that window. So it doesn't necessarily mean we have to get a follow through today. Anywhere all week, if we see a follow through day, we'll be right in that window where we look for it.
You had also mentioned earlier, I think it was you who said MU was one of the ones on your radar.
Yes,
So
not only on my radar, but I have a position there too.
So Stock Market News just tweeted that UBS just raised their price target to $99 on MU while maintaining a buy rating today. So MU has been falling today. Looks like it's about to go negative. I'm just looking real quick at the.
No, it's back up now.
Is it? Did it pop?
Yeah,
No, it's back down now. Yeah, it did pop. Like on the day this was red, but as soon as the numbers came out, it turned green. But right now it's barely green.
Yeah.
0.07%. So yeah.
Yeah. I do see, some call option activity coming in on it as we've been talking. I guess it's a little bit mixed. Ben, with that reaffirmed buy rating, I don't know if that factors in at all. But just, as it's kind of fallen down here today and it's trying to find some stability, any updated thoughts on it, on any maybe like shorter, time scales, maybe if you're looking at it on like a 5 minute or 65?
Yeah, no, and since I had another position in the semis impinge PI, and I took profits there, it gives me a little bit of breathing room with MU to kind of see how things play out today. It's basically flat on the position. This is right where I came in. But when I zoom out a little bit, there's a couple issues, pending with earnings coming up. So I need to get some cushion in order to be able to hold into their earnings. But when I zoom out, I see kind of cup with handle pattern. The pivot that everybody's going to be watching is 89.05. That's kind of the high of the handle there. So I'm watching more of 85.75, which if we can hold that level while the market's red, and then we kind of get like either that follow through day or start to see some strength. I like coming in a little early before that 89.05 pivot. And then I'm looking for a run back to the prior high, which is just about 97. But no, the news itself, that doesn't really play a role for me. I mean, that they've been discussing it for weeks now, and I'm more interested in seeing if they come back for it as far as call flow, because there was quite a bit of call flow into the name, and I hadn't really seen much. Let me update it and see if there's anything significant this morning. No, just small. Yeah, nothing really of significance there. You had one, looks like the 85 calls for this month. There was one big sweep in there earlier. But yeah, not a whole lot to speak of there. But I have seen a lot of call flow in the name in the past, so looking for that to happen again.
Definitely keeping an eye on it. Okay. Resetting a little bit, this market is it's trying to find support here in some of these names, but not seeing a ton of it. I also saw AMC was just continuing the downfall. It was down 13.7% at one point. It's now down 12.4%. Again, we've talked about how there is not much support here besides, I guess people trying to ape in and buy a dip. It's just from a technical perspective, not looking fantastic. I also see Upstart. That's another name, that's been pretty common on FinTwit. That is back at, I believe, a 5-month low on Upstart. Yeah, coming back towards kind of those August prices. It is sitting at 157 right now. Still have 680% on the year, but obviously a lot more people were buying towards that upper range. Apple has popped back into the green after falling down 0.36%, so it's trying to hold 180. And Crowd is still, so I guess it's Snow also. Let's just take a look at Snow real quick. Yeah, Snow's trying to come back, along the lines of, as we saw with Crowd being down. Okay, let's go back. I see your hand up, Matt, and then I want to go back to Stock Talk Weekly and get him involved again. All you, Matt?
Thank you, Gavin. Looking at DAX 40 futures, we closed in about 40 minutes in Europe, but we actually traded down. The DAX went red for a little smidge of time, and now it's pulling back. Traded for about 15 minutes below its open from previous day, and now it's back to kind of like halfway point and testing the gap up. It's responding to our market. We're kind of responding to them, so keep an eye out on that. Going if I use TradingView, there's a pretty cool free chart for that, and I watched and make sure very closely 10:30 Central or 11:30 Eastern when it closes. And our market's responding very quickly to that. I think any volatility that we have once they close out and they start trading in their overnight session, we should relax. I've scooped up some NASDAQ a little bit ago, did 2 really quick long scalps and closed them out. I'm still fighting the S&P, and we took that 21.5 VIX level, and we're actually diving below it. So I think probably the next hour or so, we're going to decide if the market dries up or not. And in a fundamental sense, I just shared a tweet. There's, the way the market closed on Friday, it was really hard to tell what style of trading that was. A lot of that could be accumulation for options exercising. Tech was being weak, and so now it's trying to be weak, but not really doing it. Things are holding pretty well. I think Microsoft's going to fight for that key level Danny and I were talking about today. And I think I'm personally betting that we do push higher through Wednesday. And I'm currently long the S&P myself, so I'm upside down a little bit, but hopefully that changes for me in the next couple minutes. I really do think market's going to take a week or so higher in general. Just, after a big crash that we had, my whole thing was it was a crash, not a correction. The crash, if it confirms further, then it corrects. And I think after the week we had, and 2 weeks we had, market's got to trade down a little bit today just to open the week, just to kind of put its toes in the water, see what it's going to be like. If it gets any worse from here, obviously if we close below lower lows on the S&P, then the market's going to know what it needs to know. If it doesn't, then I think there's a little bit of comfort going into, we switched to a new VIX month on, when I say VIX month, I'm talking about when VIX options expire. We shift our calculation, the forward curve on VIX futures across that day, which is one of our calculations. It's a very big, important day for volatility. And so as long as we survive not breaking lower lows today, I do think the next 2 or 3 days do probably hold and trade up. I don't feel any bearish vibes just yet, but it is really on the edge. So watch Europe's close today and see what they do. And as long as they hold strong, I think we will too. But I don't think we rally and turn green. I think we kind of hover around the middle today if we do survive it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely, I think comforting to a lot of people who are especially newer to this market to hear the sentiment, the patterns, the flows that this has happened before, the way that things are moving. Big shout out to the awesome people joining us in the audience. We have held over 600 people this entire time. Once more, if you're coming into this audience, we really do appreciate you being in here with us. I love the FinTwit account, chatting with us, sitting with us up here, and a bunch of others of our favorites. And then once more, big shout out to our speakers. This panel is an elite panel, people that have years and some of them decades of experience trading this market. This is definitely a TA focused panel, but also macro, fundamental. They really are multifaceted and can come at this from several angles. So if you're not already following people like Ben and Gerg and Peter, Matt, Stock Talk Weekly, and I think Danny just had to pop off because he has a coaching client that he's doing. Like, these are the people to be following. And then once more, Stock Market News, Stock Talk Weekly, and the Wolf account will be hosting over 15 spaces combined this week, and Gerg as well. So make sure that you're following those accounts. I'd love to get the Wolf account up to 39K. It is so close. If you can help out with that, we'd love to get that Wolf account to 39K. Okay, so real quick, I'm about to come to you, Peter. I also see Facebook moving back upward, so I wanted to get some analysis on that. But first, Peter, then I'm going to come to you, Stock Talk Weekly, for talk on Facebook and maybe some other stuff.
I wanted to ask Matt a question where he just mentioned, the response to what he called a crash, not a correction. Were you referring to Friday's sell of 900 points or something else?
Oh yeah, I was going. Thanks, Peter. I was looking mostly for about 2 weeks ago. I had this kind of speech I gave on one of the spaces. It was more along the lines of the selling that we saw through the week of the Thanksgiving week and prior. Just massive liquidation. And the market on our signals opened very bullish almost every day. And then it was a surprise sell-off for about 4 days in a row where it just opened bullish and then triggered stops and sold and opened bullish. So whatever liquidation was taking place, it seemed like a crash. The market was structured very bullish and just kind of shocked everybody for a couple of weeks. So not necessarily just Friday, but mostly for the 2 weeks prior.
You know what, Matt? From my experience, First
Yes,
of all,
sir.
I use the term crash very, very lightly because people get freaked out when they hear that word. Basically, down
Yeah.
900
Absolutely.
down 900 points in a market that's up 30% is literally nothing more than a pebble in a shoe. And we saw the way we rebounded past that. So I would be hesitant to use that word. But what we did see from my experience at the end of November was nothing more, as you said, we would open up and then sell off hard into the close. It was a function of the fact that a lot of the hedge funds close out their positions at the end of November. Right? They basically say, I'm up 20% on the year. I'm going to shut this down. Why would I want to risk December with the Fed meeting and all the rest of this crazy year that we've had and a new virus hovering around? Why wouldn't I shut this thing down, go to St. Bart's and spend the whole holiday there chilling out with my feet up and a Coca Loco than worry about what the heck December was going on? So I think a lot of that sell-off that you saw on the end of November that you referred to as a crash was nothing more than a lot of hedge funds liquidating positions for the year, shutting shit down and moving on. That's my opinion.
Yep. Yes. Agree. 100%.
Cool. Okay.
Crypto is getting hammered right now. Ethereum held 4K for a long time and has just kind of plunged back through it. I mean, it hasn't been under 4K since, well, I guess it kind of tapped it a little bit in December, but it hasn't been under 39, I think, in, 38, whatever. The levels where it's at right now, it hasn't seen since October. So we'll see what continues to happen there. I know that there definitely is, a lot of people that were looking to buy under that 4K level. So perhaps people do come in on that dip, but it is falling along with Bitcoin, as well as, if you're looking at something like Dogecoin is down to 15 cents and some others. So Apple's still green, Crowd, MJ, those are the ones that I'm seeing. Okay, Stock Talk Weekly, wanted to come over to you. What moves have you made in today's market, if any? And then also, any thoughts on Facebook here?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of discussed earlier, I got into those AMC puts pretty timely when we were talking earlier, and the ones that I kept are up even more now. One set of them is up 50%. So that AMC play I'm playing, I still haven't taken a position on that Uber. I was watching that, but it's still trading super choppy. So, I'm looking, if Uber gives up that 35.50, then maybe I might get into those puts. But still watching Uber, still watching Lucid, still watching User as well. So that seems like the basket that I'm going to trade today. Another name that I didn't bring up that I am obviously watching is PL, which announces earnings after the bell. I anticipate that if it's anything other than a big beat, the stock will probably sell down. The tape isn't great right now for growth in tech names, especially small and mid cap growth in tech. So, I think they're going to have blowout earnings to hold that stock up, but that'll be another name I'm watching. But yeah, that's just the basket I'm looking at right now. I am peeping at Facebook as well. I know you mentioned that earlier. I think if Facebook gets above this 340.50 level with a lot of volume, I think it can trade higher even intraday. So I'll be watching Facebook as well. The indices, I'm not even bothering trading those recently. Like, I haven't made many SPY or QQ trades at all outside of my portfolio hedges where, I do have puts on both in my portfolio hedge. But I'm not trying to trade bounces on SPY or QQQ, not in this climate where we have so much sentiment-driven price action and a lot of chop in the indices. I try to stay away from trading the indices directly in this kind of environment. So looking at a handful of individual names with broken down charts for downside moves, and then there's a couple that I'm kind of hunting for that have been performing with relative strength, not on the upside, but just in terms of how much they've been selling off. There's a little list of names I'm making, which I'll probably have a better idea of over the next few hours, but names that just have not had this steep of a sell-off while being in sectors that have showed extreme weakness. When you see names in a sector where all the rest of the names are trading down double digits, and then you have a name that's showing relative strength, those tend to be reliable bouncers when you get a shift in sentiment in the indices. So try to just continue to be nimble, trade different names, trade where the price action and where the volume is. In a market like this, I mean, if you're a trader and you're purely looking for volatility and moves in your favor, you kind of really need to hunt out the volume and and see where there are legitimate cases for price action to work. Because, I mean, even if you have the best technical setup in the world, if there's not volume there to trigger it, then nothing's going to happen. So that's kind of the way I'm playing it right now. I wish I had more than that basket of 5 names I gave you, but that's really all I'm watching today. Those 4 or 5 names, and playing puts, and not getting into any calls though. So playing puts on a couple of these downside names. Might think of nibbling equity on some of my longer term swings, but I'm not sure I'm there yet in terms of confidence that we're going to receive a reversal. I think there's too many negative catalysts this week. Obviously, the Wednesday Fed meeting depends on what is said and the tone and any change in direction. But the quad witching is usually not certainly, but it's usually a negative catalyst. So we'll see how that plays out going into the rest of the week. I'm not going to be putting on a ton of size on the long side at all this week. Even if we do get a bounce one of these days, this isn't a climate where I want to be putting on a ton of size on long-term positions. I'm kind of keeping it very thin, keeping a lot of buying power available, really focusing on day trading. I wouldn't consider myself a day trader by profession because, I've been trading for 10 years. I would say the vast majority of that has been swing trading and, options plays, but there will be a bit of a shift in strategy for me, as it has been for the last few months, kind of transitioning myself more to a day trader, just so I don't have to be predictive of, if any of these trends are going to stick or what the indices are going to do. Being nimble and day trading these names kind of gives me the ability to get in and out, not get too greedy with the profits. I mean, earlier I took profits on the first batch of those AMC puts, up 20%. The rest of them I'm holding are almost up 50% now. So, but I'm not mad. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, wow, I wish I would have held them for 50%. I'm happy with the base hits in this climate. I'll take them where I can get them. Because this isn't really the type of market where you can predict the moves, at least sentiment wise. So, yeah, that's just generally a recap of what I'm doing. I know I said a lot of that earlier, but not much has changed in the last 30 minutes from the comments I made earlier.
Just to recap on that real quick, which puts do you currently have?
AMC puts, and I'm looking at Uber puts, and then I have SPY and QQQ puts, but those are just a portfolio hedge. I didn't buy those today.
Sounds good. Got it. Awesome. Okay, Peter has a run as well, but just a reminder to everybody, Peter Tuchman, one of the greats on Wall Street. I've had the chance to meet him in person a couple times at the New York Stock Exchange. Really awesome guy, and he'll be doing a live webinar tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST. So you can check that out through his page. It's at Einstein of Wall Street on Twitter, or Wall Street Global Trading Academy if you are going to Google. Okay. Let's circle back real quick. Let's see. Evan, any specific topics that we have not hit on yet, or any news that has come out that you would like to look into? If not, I can go through a couple more of these tickers and setups. We can look at the call flow, some alerts and stuff like that. But I just want to see if you had anything that you wanted to get into.
Nothing specific. I think we can keep it moving with what you got. I'll chime in if we got any big stories breaking.
Sounds good. I have not gotten any alerts in the last... well, that's not true. I just got another. So ANF, this is one that I mentioned earlier. That is Abercrombie and Fitch. They have had more downside. Ooh, yeah, look at that one. Called that one. The flow called it. I did not call it. But if you look at Abercrombie and Fitch, we called that one out at 955, and was looking at the puts there for $34 puts, and they are up about 60 to 70% since those were called out. Again, if you look at the volume to the open interest, I think that's what tipped these off right here. And more premium has come in basically on the put side here, just swept in. So people are hammering the downside of Abercrombie and Fitch, which I don't know if I see any support right here. Matt, is that something that you have, or you'd have to pull and look at another day?
Wait 1 second. Sorry, Gav. I was plugging my phone in. Repeat, sir. Which
ANF.
Abercrombie and Fitch
is in Frank. ANF. Yeah, F as in Frank, And wow, there is really like no support on this thing for, I mean, a little bit back. It just basically broke through some key
Yeah, I don't
levels.
have any. We don't have data for that. Does that even have options? I'm not sure.
ANF does have options, yes.
ANF. I did not pull data on that one, unfortunately, today. I'll add it to the list and try to take it tomorrow.
Ben, you want to take a crack at that? And then I have one other. Actually, since this market is going like this, like let's just look at some downside pressure opportunities. So ANF and then also Wayfair, which is actually green today, but was getting hammered all of last week.
Yeah, ANF. This is kind of the level 33. That's kind of the last line of support as far as what I see. Let's see, this low goes back to mid-September, 33.02. Below there, yeah, there's not. I mean, it could be, yeah, a good quick 10% before there's another level of support, and then below that, closer to like 23. So yeah, this breaks here and that. Now it's interesting because a lot of people say, "Oh, double top." This is one that, yes, when you do go below that 33.02 level, that's a double top. Just because a stock hits the same price, like the high on the left side was 47, and then Abercrombie hits 47 again and starts to pull back. That's not a double top. It's not a double top until it takes out that low, and that's kind of where you're at right now.
And then,
did you have another ticker?
Yeah, the other one was Wayfair, ticker W.
Oh, W? Wayfair. Yeah, now this is one that's already broken. Yeah, I don't see much as far as support goes here. Yeah, and the way that it came up on that left side, this is another one that could fall rather dramatically if the market isn't healthy. Let me look on. Yeah, I don't have any. You're below year-to-date anchored VWAPs. All the VWAPs that really stand out to me, you're below. Let's go back to the March low. You're below there. Yeah, I don't have much as far as support until about, what's this level? 10, about 110. So yeah, that's crazy downside potential there. It doesn't mean that will happen, but yeah, this is definitely one that's ugly and rolling over. Let me see on the weekly. Yeah, you're below on the weekly charts, you're below the 40-week moving average, which matches up with the 200-day moving average. You're below the 10-week moving average, which matches up with the 50-day. It's, yeah, just ugly across the board. And it goes hand in hand. I know we don't talk about this a whole lot, but goes hand in hand with the fundamentals when you're going from earnings per share of $5 to $2.60 to $2. You know, earnings dropping 50% and then another 20%. So it does kind of make sense what's happening technically matches up with the fundamentals.
Love it. Real quick, I just want to, Stock Weekly, I want to see if you can explain this to people better than I can. So the reason why I'm getting alerts on some of these, and like I just got another alert on CP right now, the reason is not because there is a ton of money coming in as a premium. It's because the volume is so much greater than the open interest on the ones that's coming in. And that is drawing a turbo alert, as they call it on the platform that I'm using. Can you explain why that's an important thing when there's just massive volume versus open interest for a put?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an escalation of the IV, right? Like if it's sitting at, you know, I mean, I don't know what puts you're looking at or what service you're looking at. I haven't heard the term turbo alerts before, but I assume what you're looking at is just an escalation in the IV because of the massive gap up in open interest. But I mean, I assume that's what you're discussing. Gerg, I don't know if you have a different take on the question you just asked, but I think that's what we were referring to.
I can actually
go for it, man.
I can give you some input there. When you're getting that alert, sometimes on the put side, they could be closing out the position, so it's not necessarily, you wouldn't get an alert for that. However, if the volume is exceeding the open interest, then you know that those are being opened. Those puts are being opened. So those are actually bearish bets versus if you have that volume coming in, but it's less than the open interest, they could be closing those positions out.
Very interesting. Yeah, the one that I just saw on CP, I'm not too worried. I'm not going to look too much into because it's very far out. It was a January 2023 put. But yeah, that makes sense that they could be closing those positions out versus opening. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on those A and F. They're up about another.
There's a 750K sweep on the 23 puts on AMC 23 strike with the January expiry, January 2022 expiry. I just saw two sweeps come across, 380K, and then right after that another 480K on the same strike. So,
what level puts do you have?
I had those exact same ones actually. So, yeah.
You have 23.
I have the January 2022 23 strike expiry. Those are the ones I have left. I bought a few other strikes earlier, but I sold a bunch of them right off that initial drop because the IV
Which
spiked.
January date?
The January 7th.
January 2022, $23 strike.
Those
Yeah,
are the
those
ones.
are going.
Those are the ones that I have left. Yeah, like I said, I'm scaling out of these. Right, like I'm not going to wait for it to bounce back on me. So scaling out of these as it drops. But I think there's actually more downside here intraday if the indices keep this up. So keeping an eye on this. I'm holding the rest of those puts.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like from the flow, people sure think so. I mean, I'm just watching the puts come in. Let's see, what is it? Another 26,000, 23,000, 44,000. Those are all on weeklies too. The 12,
Yeah.
17,
Look at the
24s.
Snap flow. Like, I haven't seen this bullish flow from Snap in a while. Like, after earnings.
Yeah, same with
This
me,
is the
Greg. I
first
noticed that
time
as well.
seeing this.
Yeah, I haven't seen any flow on Snap in a while either. I noticed that this morning too. There was a couple golden sweeps on Snap.
Yeah, 1.3 billion. Even though Snap is down almost 5%, but the premiums on the calls, I have never seen them so high after the earnings, right? Like, after the earnings, it dropped like 40%, right? But after that, I haven't seen a move like this on the
Yeah,
premiums.
there's two golden sweeps from this morning on Snap at the 50 strike. The January 21st expiration 2022, two different sweeps there. One was a 1.37 million sweep. The other was a 1.12 million sweep. So big bettors there looking for a reversal on Snap. Interesting to me because on the intraday chart, I see no reason to see why this would bounce hard. But, interesting. I don't know if they're just looking for a catalyst later this week or something, maybe an announcement. I don't know. Could be a somebody knows something kind of situation, but because the chart is not speaking good stories to me right now. So we'll see. We'll see what Snap's trading like. But I completely agree with Gerg there. I have not seen any kind of big sweeping activity on Snap in a while. So that was another interesting one I noted as well.
I like this little flag going on with Facebook that's happening here. Also, funny sympathy. Maybe this is getting hammered because of the Lucid stuff, but there's another stock called Lucid Diagnostics that trades under LUCD, and it is just getting destroyed today. It's down like 12.5%. And
that stock used to run last year because people thought it was Lucid. I remember that stock had a few days where it had explosive moves last year because people were buying it thinking it was Lucid, which is funny.
Yeah, let me go long this and short Lucid. How about that?
Yeah, take a look at that chart. You do not want to long right now. Take a look at LUCD. You do not want to go long. Trust me.
But the stock looks dead. I think since they went public back in October of this year. It doesn't look up. No,
yeah, it's basically just had red days. Basically just red days since IPO. But yeah, the Snap one's interesting. I'm not going to come in on that just yet. I actually haven't made any moves today. I should have made the move on ANF, but I don't know. And most of my stocks are doing not terrible, to be honest. Like they're okay. It's really just crypto that's hammering me right now. That's where like a lot of the losses are coming from. I guess I'm taking some losses on Tesla. That would be the biggest. SE. SE came back to green and then reversed all the way back to almost the lows of the day. I just hate to see it because I really do believe in that stock. You know, Apple went negative, and then some of the sports betting is starting to weigh down now too. Penn down 3.84%. That's pulling down bets 3.27% down. Square, Block, whatever you want to call it, down 4%. So yeah, I mean, not making any sudden moves in this market, just continuing to watch. I see in a day like today, I really want to wait for the next few hours because premiums, especially if you're trading options, are just all in a disarray at the moment. And I would love to just give them kind of towards the end of the day and see what the price action is throughout the day. And then look for opportunities going into market open tomorrow, because obviously, as we know, things are calming down as we get into the lunch break area, and then they kind of pick back up sometimes towards the evening. And then you can watch flow, you can watch level 2 data, and you can just kind of see what is happening going into the close and then make some moves based off of that. But for now, I would just recommend people to like chill out, because I understand if your portfolio is going down, but it's going to feel much worse if you go in, make a move, and then that move just escalates, a downward movement. That's not something that you really want to have happen. So it's better off, in my eyes, to really wait until there's something that you're sure of, and to wait for the confirmation. Don't try to catch the falling knife. If one of these stocks is down 5-6% and has shown no sign that is going to pop back, you really want to wait for a bit of a flag move, at least some type of consolidation sideways, like what Facebook's doing right now. It's kind of nice, where it's kind of like moving sideways. But again, there would be no point in have grabbed Facebook 30 minutes ago, because you would literally, if you're talking about options here, you would just be losing money on premium, because it's really not making enough of a move to make it up for, make it worth your while. Okay, so we've been running for 2 hours now. The reason why I didn't bring up people from the audience today is because, again, it's a new person, Nick, one of our Wolf interns that is running the Wolf account right now. I don't want to have to put him through the ringer with bringing up and down a bunch of people. That's why we stuck with these speakers for today. But I think about this time, Evan, Stock Market News, are you ready to move into some wrap up? Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on?
I'm trying to think. I think with 2 hours we got a decent coverage on it. I think wrap up is a good place to go. Yeah, I'm looking over. heading over to the Google Calendar right now, checking what other spaces you have today. But you can talk about that once we get into wrap up. But yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, well, let me actually say, I think the next space that I have today, and I'd love to have you on it, Stock Talk Weekly, I'm hoping that you'll co-host it with me, is going to be at 1 p.m. EST, and I think it fits nicely actually into today, and that is going to be on collecting option premium, which is something that is still a way that you could be making money in a market like this. Collecting option premium can work in both bullish and bearish markets. Definitely there's plenty of opportunities, because you see even in a market like this where you have Apple running and some others, so you can do things like buying or selling into strength. So if anyone's totally unfamiliar with the strategy of collecting option premium, that'll be a great space for you. Mark that down at 1 p.m. EST. Stock Talk Weekly, you're going to be good to hop on that?
Yep, I'll be good to hop on that.
I got SPAC Guru. SPAC Guru will be on there too. So I'm looking forward to that. But for now, yeah, we can go into a little bit of wrap up. One more time, since I think we should just throw this in at the beginning of the wrap up. Just a quick 30 seconds on the Google Calendar. So again, if you heard me just talking about how we have a 1 p.m. space, and then you didn't know that I also have a 6 p.m. space, and I also have a 7:30 p.m. space today, what you should be doing is going into the DMs right now, DM to myself or to Stock Market News your Gmail, so we can add you to our free public Google Calendar. This way you'll be able to see everything way ahead of time. You'll have a great idea of when things are going to be happening. It'll just make life so much simpler. You know when all the spaces are, you'll know who's speaking on them. You'll be able to see recordings, and the best part is it's all free. We are keeping this entirely free, and if at any point it doesn't fit your agenda and you're like, I don't want this anymore, you can unsubscribe. It doesn't even send me an email. It won't hurt my feelings. You can literally just remove the calendar from your thing. That is just as simple as it gets, and it's basically the best product that you have right now for finding awesome Twitter spaces. Because if you're liking stock Twitter spaces or crypto or NFT or literally so many more things, I'm going to do one on DAOs and a bunch of other stuff, this is the place for you. And then, of course, make sure you're following the Wolf account, Stock Market News, Stock Talk Weekly, GERD. We're mainly all hosting spaces throughout the weeks. And then my big, analysts that we have here, Ben and Matt, doing so much for us. Okay. Let's start a bit of wrap up. Ben, would you like to go first with any closing thoughts or just any advice as we go through the rest of this day and into the week?
Yeah, I just say that not exactly in the healthy market, especially for growth stock traders, especially small cap growth specifically. So just protect capital. There will be easier markets. It may not be until next year, but there will be easier times in the market than right now. So the main thing, tread lightly. That's what I'm doing right now is, I'm taking some shots, keeping a much shorter time frame in mind, taking profits quickly while I have them, not getting overly involved either. On the other hand, we get a follow-through day or maybe post-Fed. I'm sure there's some jitters into the Fed this week. There may be some opportunities. But like I said, just tread lightly, take profits quickly when you have them. Wait for a healthier market. Now, how will we know it's a healthier market? The charts will look a lot better. There'll be a lot more opportunities. You'll start to see, like I mentioned, those follow-through days. Breakouts will actually work. One of the first stocks I mentioned today when we started was PI, and that I had a position. Then I mentioned that I took profits. I took profits at 89. It's 83. That's just the kind of market we're in. There's no follow through. You get a breakout and it quickly reverses. The big money and the smart money selling into those breakouts. So when you start to see those breakouts stick and they work and they're making progress and they're gaining 20%, 15% rather than 5 or 6%, you'll know we're in a healthy market. That's not the environment we're in right now. So protect until we get there.
100%. Yeah, Matt, I think you just messaged me about this, but if you want to kind of talk about what you just said and any closing thoughts.
Yeah, it's kind of like we had this turning point this morning. Every signal, and it's a repeat of 2 weeks ago. Every signal that we have that starts off bullish, the market has collapsed through so many different key levels and calculations. Every single one of my signs is just split bearish, and I just close out for a loss. I don't know, and again, I know I'm probably going to be wrong, and it might recover by the end of the day. We have DAX flipping red, market selling, and I don't know how I'm going to rephrase my thesis, thinking we might go higher highs before we go lower. But we kicked from the bull zone from our model from 69 to 68 on SPY. Breaking 68 isn't so bad, and isn't so good for the market. And breaking through 394 is a key level for Qs. There's no support until 391. Another 120-point dip on Qs is possible today. I took my good scalps. I got in and got out, but it's almost at a turning point now, and it looks like we're probably going to sell. So I liquidated everything. That key volatility level, VXX 21.5, is breaking, and it's holding with volume, and there's additional hedging. It's pressing to higher highs now. Volatility is just the name of the game now, and it was a surprise to me to see that break. But I do think, I guess as Peter was saying earlier, people don't want to risk being long when they've had such a stellar ride, one of the best rides some of these hedge funds have had in their entire careers, these managers and traders. Nobody wants to risk closing out the year at any kind of a loss. You're on a win streak. You're going to have something to kind of strut around the office about now, and I think that people are just being extra cautious. Market relaxed, short squeeze through Friday, and we found some highs. But now the market's high again, so people are just liquidating more things. We didn't get that good, strong bump that we wanted on Apple. That's starting to sell. Microsoft is, Danny and I were talking about that 342.5, 343 kind of level. Microsoft tried to claim that about an hour ago, and it lost that level, fell down to low 340s, trying to fight it and hold. But no, Tesla's finding lower lows as in the moment that I'm speaking. I really do think market comes down. So, it's a cautious time right now. I did close my longs for a loss, my scalps. So I'm out today with a loss. I'm actually going to close on my platform so I don't get convinced to push this button. Volatility is always a bad time to start trying to pick bottoms. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep. Great points all around. Yeah, it's definitely it's flooding. My account's not been pretty for the last month, but I'm just taking it all in as learning lessons, going on spaces, talking with people, trying to minimize the amount of bad moves versus, I understand the bleeding is going to happen, but we can, minimize it as much as possible. Gerg, I would love to hear any final thoughts from you. And then also, the SARK that chart's looking pretty nice.
It's a question about SARK?
Yeah, how about that chart?
Yeah, so SARK is short Cathy Woods. ARK was green in the morning. What happened to that? Let me take a look. Oh, ARK's red now. So in the morning, around open, ARK was up, I think 50 basis points. Now it's red. So SARK is a 1-to-1 short ARKK. So it's done worse, right? If ARKK goes down 1%, this goes down 3%. No, 1%, my bad. So this is then the worst. So if you want to go short ARK, you can go long this. You technically pay less fees as the borrow rate is almost half. No, it's almost double the management fees of this one. So it's cheaper. Also, the move has been way bigger, right? In the last month, I think how much was ARK down? So ARK was down 20%, and SCR was up like how much? Like 23%. So bigger moves with that too. But
Yeah,
I
shout out
wouldn't.
Gerd for Sark because I took some of that with you as a hedge when you first mentioned it a while ago, and I'm up nicely on it. So shout out to you for that pick, actually.
Yeah, if you got them, you have a 20%. But I wouldn't
It's in
hold
my little
long
hedge
term.
portfolio with my long UVXY, short SPY, short QQQ, and now I have long Sark in there as well. So nice
Yeah,
little hedging tool.
this is good for short-term hedging, but will I hold SARK for long-term? No. If you think
Oh, me neither. Me
Catwoods is
neither.
about to blow up our fund, go long SARK. Otherwise, I will right. If you think Tesla will go to zero, Palantir will go to zero, Docky will go to zero, T-Doc will go to zero, then go long SARK long-term. But if you don't, just trade this.
I love how when Gerg's talking about a stock going down, he always just says go to zero. As if it's gonna go to zero.
Yeah, and there's one more stock I'm looking at. So that, according to Bloomberg and F3, has 82% short interest.
Bang! Look at that AMC forfeit right there.
It's gone now.
It's down
So what do you
15%
think?
now. Ooh,
What do you
those
think?
just
Bye bye
pop
AMC.
too. Those
Is
puts
talk
pop.
dog. We do a space about AMC right after this.
Oh,
AMC
I'm
negative
so
5.
down. I'm so down. I love stirring the pot with that community.
Yeah, well, when will this end?
Yeah. You'll do an AMC space?
Yeah, I'll name that AMC to negative 5. All the shareholders will have
There
to
we
pay
go.
$5 because of the BS.
No, if you
We
make
should
that if you make that the title, they'll be convinced you mean negative 5%. They'll think it's going to bounce 10% from the bottom.
Hey man,
So
AMC's it's my future gourmet popcorn company. Get it to $5 and I'll buy the whole company.
so you were holding those January 7th, 23 puts. So those are up 60% today. Very
Yep.
nice. That implied
Yep.
volatility is crazy, but
I
hey,
bought 4 different strikes in the
you see the
morning.
volume. You see the volume on those? Holy
Yeah,
shit!
the Ivy's jacked, Gab. Like sometimes if you know, there's a I don't want to say this is completely a myth, but there's, sometimes people are like, I hear some people have this rule where they say, I don't even buy any options in the first hour of open. And while that can be true, a lot of times with larger cap names or names that have like a lot of regular volume, they can have an inflated IV off the open just because of all the people pouring in. But, sometimes when you see a stock give up a key level, at the open, like AMC giving up that 26, like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned that 26 level weeks ago on Spaces when we were talking about AMC and what I was looking for. And I was like, hey, if it gives up 26, I'm going to get short. So today, I've just followed my plan. Simply, I saw it give up 26, and I was like, I'm going to get short. And this thing has a tumble of room downwards. I'm not going to get greedy again, because anything can happen in this market. Wednesday could be really positive and all these names could rip. So, granted, even though this was probably my only good call of the day was this AMC put, I'm still holding on to these contracts. I think this can trade lower. Like I said, at minus 12%, I thought I could trade lower. Now it's almost minus 16. So, this could see a minus 18, minus 19% day. So hopefully those continue to print. Outside of AMC, though, Ben mentioned this earlier. This is a market where there are so many broken down charts. QUBT was another good short today that I was looking at. I didn't get into it, but it's down 7%. Let me just go to my short watch list actually, because I know you mentioned this earlier, Gab. I should have just done this in the first place. So my short watch list, I had Roblox, Lycee, QUBT, AMC, and Uber. Out of those, I think they're all down. Yeah, they're all down. Uber is like the least quote unquote successful out of those because it's only down 3%. But the rest, and even earlier when I called those Uber puts, remember? When I was talking about Uber puts, it was trading at 36. Now look at it. It just gave up the 36 level. So charts are breaking down. This is just kind of me speaking more so to the retail audience. And I know we have a big audience in here, so that, I assume that there's a lot of new traders in the audience. A lot of you, and I just know this by virtue of, having a decent amount of followers and having people that DM me and comment every day. So I feel like I get exposure to a lot of new traders. I very often feel that there's this, and I've mentioned this before, this bull bias or this long bias on FinTwit, where people feel like the only way they can trade is the upside of stocks. If you consider yourself technically literate at all, the same way that you can, be bullish on takings of key support and, stocks sitting on demand zones and, all these technical tools you use, whether you're using VWAP, RSI, MACD, anchored VWAP, SMAs, EMAs, all of your theses on the upside technically can also become theses on the downside technically. So if you're finding yourself to be a literate trader on the long side, chances are it's not going to take you that much more education or effort to become a literate trader on the downside. Stocks move both ways. Now, granted, in the long term, right, the market overall trades higher. That's why people say stocks go up. They don't only go up. And in climates like this with chop, and where you have a number of stocks where, stocks that have gone from trading above all of their moving averages to now trading below all of their moving averages, you have these broken down charts. Stocks have given up historical supports. Some stocks have given up supports that they've held for, year plus. In these kind of situations, you can find short, plays that when they give up a key price level are just going to tumble, right? And so don't be afraid to do that. Don't let people villainize that, because FinTwit tends to do that. People tend to villainize playing the other side of the ball. Don't let that happen if you're a new trader. Keep your mind open that it doesn't make you a bad person to play puts or go short. That's I know that sounds, it's obvious, obviously, to the speakers up here, but I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it does not make you a bad person to do short a stock. It does not make you a bad person to buy puts. You're not rooting for the end of the world. You're not rooting for the company to go bankrupt. You're playing the price action. That's it. It's not really speaking to some great, testament to your character. You can't see it that way. If you're here to make money and you're here to trade. Now, granted, you can have some ethical guidance to your investment principles, companies that you're putting money in for a long period of time. And if you don't like the things that they're doing, sure, that's an exception. But it doesn't make you a villain or a hedgy to play shorts or puts. So just please, I know that that's obvious to most of the speakers up here, but please understand that. And it's important to understand this in this market, because if you want to be a trader who trades for a living, right? I've been trading for 10 years. My first 4 years, I didn't trade for a living. I had to find other ways to make money. Last 6 years, thankfully, I've been able to do it full time. But to get to that point, you have to be able to trade different markets. You have to be able to play upside and downside. You have to be able to play multiple different types of asset classes. I know traders who only trade options and do it successfully, but for me, I like to do a little bit of everything. I play options, I play equities, I sell covered calls, I use cash secured puts, I, trade warrants, I trade small caps, mid caps, large caps. I'm not saying you have to do all of that. I'm just saying that it benefits you and makes you more flexible and nimble if you educate yourself on different trading strategies, different capital allocation strategies, different asset classes. And if you play both sides of the ball on top of all that, you'll have a lot more tools at your disposal and you'll have a lot more options. So many traders who only play the long side or play the long bias find themselves like, oh, I don't have a trade to take today because the market's down. Well, why don't you have a downside trade to take? Right? It's because of the scope by which people are looking at the market. So do we all want the market to rip and go higher and be in an uptrend and everyone to be in economic prosperity and companies to be killing every ER? Sure. Yeah, we all love to see that. But when it's not happening and you have chop and you have policy headwinds and you have end of year tax selling and you have hedge funds reallocating portfolios and you're going to get downside volatility, why not play the downside as well? So I just want to make that general point. I know it was a little long-winded, but I want to make that general point, especially for the new traders.
All good stuff there, 100%. You reiterated that time after time, and it has continuously been true. So really excited to see that. Okay. Market is continuing to do market things. AMC down 16.25%. What else is going on? I just tweeted out about PLTR, now down 35% year to date. Well, past 1 year. And let's see what else is going on. Okay. So we heard wrap up from Gerg and Stock Market News and Ben. Matt, did you already? Actually, no, you did give your thoughts. Did you?
Any final tickers you guys want me to take a look at? I'll throw some numbers out.
Yeah, AMC.
AMC has no visible support that I can find. I've run the model so many ways to
No,
look at.
there's support right there. I see that.
Where?
At $0.
Zero? Yeah, I don't know. AMC might be one of the first stocks to go negative. I'm not sure, but we'll see. I don't know, man. I'm still sitting out pretty. I need the S&P to push.
Could you imagine if that was possible for a stock to go negative and then you owe the company money or what? Like the company owes you money.
They pay you to take it from them.
They're like, here's money. That's hilarious.
So funny.
Yeah,
No,
Matt.
you
Anything
want
else
this
you want?
piece of shit? You need to pay us $10.
What's up? What's up, Gab? One last thing.
Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think I really hope that I'm wrong. My thesis of the market wasn't going to test lows and find lower lows today. I did close at a loss. If the S&P goes above 469, I really do think the market does recover for the rest of the week. It's just in that scary boat right now, probably to shake out a bunch of longs. But I mean, better safe than sorry. All my rules flipped not so bullish now, and I'm closing everything down, not touching it. But like I said, I have alarms set, and if the market recovers, I think it's clean for the rest of the week. It just got a little dirtier than I thought. So just trade with caution, everybody. I'm certainly not scooping up any lows today to add to my portfolio. That's for sure. I really think that the last tail end of the month is a little more heat than eat. So, we'll let it do its thing. And, by the beginning of the year, I think we're back to rallying. So that's my thought.
The Grinch rally, someone just commented
Yeah.
on my post. That's good. I like that. Okay. All right. So that was from our speaker, Stock Market News, my awesome co-host coming to you. If you're not already following Stock Market News, in a market like this, you need to be following Stock Market News. He is the quickest way that you're going to find out when things are happening, price upgrades, Fed information. Make sure that you are clicking on Stock Market News profile, hitting the follow button right fucking now. It is the best move in this market. All right. Stock Market News. Any closing thoughts?
I appreciate
That was the first time I heard you curse, Gav, in a while.
That's not true. I cursed like 5 minutes ago when my portfolio dropped by 4%.
Rough day. No, man, but in general, honestly, I'll take a step back and just throw this out there. Make sure you're following all the speakers that we have up here. Good Morning FinTwit is this like the longest space that we've been doing together, kind of ongoing concurrently? I believe it has to be.
Yeah, we've been doing this for months and months, and we've even done episodes together from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Which is crazy. This is becoming a bigger and bigger show. I'm really thankful that we've been able to kind of bring on Stock Talk Weekly and Gavin to kind of help us out with the Monday, Friday thing. And then Ben and Richard, who had to drop off, who are becoming regulars, and Matt for coming on here. Just make sure you're checking all of them out, give them a follow. Shout out to Bullish Rippers, the Green Raccoon, that's up here to sponsor some of the stuff. I actually do tweet from the account, and that's my newsletter, which went out this weekend. But yeah, a bunch of good things. I also want to give a big shout out to the Wolf Financial account. You enjoy spaces, which you're in here. Make sure you check them out, give them a follow. Their pinned tweet is their Google Calendar. You can see that. You can get it directly in your email, which I advise, but you just want to see this week's, that's a great place to do it. And then while you're there or wherever, make sure you're checking out the Gav Blacksburger account, which is up here as a co-host. It's Gav's personal account. He tweets from the Wolf account all day. So if you're enjoying that, you're going to enjoy his account as well. But yeah, make sure you're checking everyone out. I appreciate this.
Good stuff, man. And big shout out to Bullish Rippers that Evan also tweets from. We're both up here running multiple accounts. Our lives are on Twitter. We strive to give you the best content possible. As you can see, both accounts have been growing super nicely, so we'd love to see it. With that being said, we have run for 2 hours and 20 minutes already today. And since I'm coming back on Spaces in 1 hour and 20, although I'll probably be on Spaces sooner, I think once this one closes, Gerg is going to open an AMC to negative $5.
AMC to negative $5.
So keep an eye.
Hop in for 1 hour, then you can leave and go back to Wolf.
I just got to make some food, but yeah, definitely do that. And then we'll be on at 1 with Stock Talk Weekly about collecting option premium, which is not a space that I've ever done before. So I think people will really like it. And then at 6 p.m. EST, I will be on doing one about NFTs, specifically how to NFT music. And then at 7:30 p.m., I will be on with Black Box Stocks for a walkthrough of the Black Box Stocks platform, which is something I think a bunch of us do use. With that being said, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to share out the recording to this in just a minute from the Wolf page, Stock Market News. Something else you wanted to add there?
No, I was just going to make a joke with Gerg that he should include there's minus 110% of downside, but he left, so we'll just keep it moving.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We, listen, we've had big red days and big green days when we do this space, but regardless, we're always having big takeaways, and that's what matters. So with that being said, we will talk with you all very soon. Nick, you can go ahead and end the space here.